Okay, so it's time for Street Talk, and we have got 7 stories to talk about today. Do you want to hear some storyline titles, Gemma?
No. Let's just get on with it.
No, I've got to tell you my storyline titles. First one I'm keeping the same as last week. Jenny's counting pennies.
Yeah.
She can't. I mean, she's trying to count other people's pennies this week. Then we're going to go on to the typing pool storyline, which is Stephen Reed.
Typing pool.
I think I've used that before. I don't know. Right, I'm pleased with my next one. This is about Eliza's dad. Yeah, Dom, calling the story Papa Dom. Thank you very much. And this is quite a good one as well. You know, Lauren's got a job working at the cafe with Shona.
Yeah.
She's Shona's new comrade in barms.
Oh, God. Comrade in barms.
Yeah. The Barlow baby breakup. So
Somebody needs to make a team name, like a team T-shirt for everybody who's ever got a job in Roy's with comrade in barms.
Yeah, sure.
We need to make that a T-shirt.
We do. We can make that a T-shirt. We have got Bernead. K-N-E-A-D, that's her doing her rubbing her massage on Monday. Yeah, exactly. And we'll finish off with a newbie Dobbs story because at last the recasting has happened.
Yes.
Macy is gone and I can't remember what her name is. Billy Naylor has taken on the mantle of Ruby Dobbs for the Big Shot storyline. So we've got a couple of bits to talk about there. What do you want to do? Do you want to do Stephen or do you want to do the pub?
I'm writing down this merch idea before...
Right, I'm gonna take on the Jenny's counting pennies storyline then. And like I said earlier, my views on this episode didn't so much align with everybody else's. And I want to kind of try and defend myself with this.
You're not allowed to.
No, I want to.
No, you're not allowed to. Nobody cares what you think.
I loved certain bits of this episode. I was so happy that this was a proper Rovers-centric episode. This is what I've been wanting.
Been asking
this
for
is what I've been
ages.
asking for literally years.
And then when it comes along, you're like,
no. Shut up. Back in the day, Rovers-centric episodes were kind of 10 a penny. They were there, you know. So just because this is an episode largely set in the Rovers, should that mean it's a special episode? Not really, but I still enjoyed it. I think that the Rovers bar staff, the dynamics between them all is absolutely brilliant. You know I love Jenny. I think she's a fantastic landlady. Sally Ann Matthews, absolutely brilliant performance as always on Monday. I think that Glenda was brilliant. Some of her bits where she was croaking away and trying to do a fake, sort of not fake singing, but just singing without singing was lovely. I think that Daisy, brilliant rounding off to that trio. To me, they're like my 3 main girls in the Rovers. Sean, always reliable, I'm going to say, and I know that that's another unpopular opinion, but I thought Sean was fantastic this week. And Gemma Gray, I love the Rovers bar staff there. So all those scenes with them in on Monday, it was fantastic. There were bits of the plotting on Monday's episode that I didn't enjoy so much. So I guess when we get to there, we'll see it. And I'm gonna say as well, I don't think that the casting of the guy to play Glyn was that great.
He was a guy who's actually done stuff.
That doesn't matter.
Yes,
it doesn't matter.
It does.
I get that's why they cast him.
I just want to say, as soon as I saw everybody, I'm gonna agree with you. I thought his performance was
lackluster,
weak, but as soon as I saw everybody in the Rovers dancing along to it, I was like, "Oh, this guy must actually be famous."
Yeah, and then you looked it up. Are you looking him up right now?
Yeah, but I'm not going to find it.
Yeah, this is a famous crooner who he's been on stage. Has he been in movies? I can't remember. So this guy was the big cheese in singing back in the day, but that's the thing. Back in the day, I don't think he'd put in that great a performance. And when he started doing his, it should have got me doing it. I was like,
no one's impressed.
Not that great. And everybody in the Rovers was dancing along, looking like it was properly Lulu that had stepped out on there. And I was like, I don't buy it. And everybody was kind of dancing around like they've been told to look like he's really, really good. And I don't think he is. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. I didn't think he was that great. There are other bits about the plot I didn't enjoy. We'll get there. So, but on the whole, it was a good story. I don't know why I have to defend myself so much. I've always said what I think about this programme.
I know, you that's the thing about you. You are relentlessly honest.
Yes.
You can't sugarcoat anything.
No.
And if I ever do anything or say anything or wear anything or whatever, and you don't think it's great, you always will tell me. You sometimes need to learn to shut up.
Gemma,
being horrible.
Is is Roy Cropper not a beloved icon of Coronation Street?
Anything?
He is also honest to a fault. Why can't I also be a beloved icon of this podcast?
You are a beloved icon of this podcast.
Oh, but thank you. I'm going to stick to it.
That's the good thing. Like I can couch my my criticism sometimes, and sometimes I know I will not say something specifically because there's no need to say it. Everybody can decide for themselves. It's not always necessarily, you don't need to put the boot in. But you can't help yourself, can you?
No. What's the point?
But when you praise something, it's always from the heart.
Everything is from the heart.
Whereas I would be like, wow, that's a really cool picture you've made out of pasta.
Anyway.
Just for example.
This is what happened. Monday's episode. Jenny is looking through some paperwork at the beginning. Daisy's scrubbing away. They're preparing for the Newtons to come because their idea is that they can convince Newton and Ridley to buy the pub. Everything's going to be saved, apparently. But disaster strikes, Gemma.
What happened?
Glenda's lost her voice.
No, I can't believe it.
True, she's been practicing all night.
That was a silly move, Glenda, you donkey.
We have had a little bit of Glenda singing on the show, haven't we? When Estelle turned up.
They did have a sing, like, maybe a couple of lines. Otherwise, I would have said that this was one of my favourite long-running jokes. I think they shouldn't have let her sing when she did. Because I think it's really funny that they've hired somebody. I don't know how much of a joke it is to everyone else, but to me, I think it's really funny. They've hired somebody famous for singing, and I
tell you what, she did a better job than Glenn Young if she had been able to sing.
Do you think they're like, now, Jodie, listen, we know we've hired you for your singing voice and your charisma, but we went down this road with Barbara Knox. Now you can't stop her from singing.
Shut her up. Although, again, didn't have Rita having a boogie, having a sing, on Monday episode, did we?
I think they cut those scenes.
Yeah,
don't worry, Babs.
Don't worry, everybody. I'm just ad-libbing this, says Babs.
Go on, you can do it. Let's
go. Anyway, so Glenda can't sing. What are they going to do?
Don't know.
First dilemma. Meanwhile, over in the cafe, you got Dart's team, George, Gary, Sean, all thinking about what's going to happen to the pub. We hear it's potentially going to close.
Judas team.
Sean's like, I don't really care as long as I still got my job at the end of it. I don't really mind.
You're not going to get the...
But I do think you should come along to this thing tonight at some point. Tonight, this afternoon, I don't know. Well, this is one of my problems. One of my few problems. With Monday's episode. When was it set? Did they say what time it was all happening? In the back of my head, it's like I got 7 o'clock, but I don't know whether I made that up. But when Henry and Henry and Philip turn up, there's a whole lot more episode to go, isn't there? And it doesn't start getting dark or anything. So I was like, I'm...
Yeah, it was very... The time was weird because at one point it felt like they had an evening and then it went back to the afternoon. But I'm not sure where I got that impression from. I
don't know, but, maybe that's why the Rovers still wasn't as packed as I'd have liked it to have been. It was nicely packed. There was probably more people that we'd seen in the Rovers there than we have done in the past 5 years. But I'd have liked there to have been a few more, proper legends in there. I mean, they were great.
I think they had a great...
They had Debbie turn up. They had Vinny. They had Gary. They had Izzy. They had George. I can't remember who else, but I'd have liked to have seen
Rita.
No, Rita was there, wasn't she?
I said Rita.
Yeah, well, yeah, she was there. No, I just said I'd have liked to have seen having Ken turn up there or Sally maybe. I don't know. But anyway,
Ken's sitting the other side of the wall.
Believe it or not, I'm just nitpicking. Yeah, Ken's probably
sitting the other side of the wall with a snifter of brandy, chuckling to himself, going, "I don't have to pay to go in there. I can enjoy Glyn Young from here."
Yeah, Ken probably loves Glyn Young.
Glyn Young, played by Billy Boyle.
You have found this out now, have you?
Yeah. You said you reckon he was 80.
Yeah.
78.
Oh, close.
Okay. And he is so famous that he's been in a film called It's Billy Boyle. So there you go.
I've never heard of him.
He's a veteran of the West End, having been having the leading role in 15 productions.
Well,
so he's better than you.
Elvis is quite a famous singer as well, but I don't think they'd have wheeled him out for this week's episode, would they? Because he's dead.
Because he's actually famous for the novelty song "My Baby's Crazy About Elvis" from 1962.
Anyway,
I knew because Big Billy Boyle fan here.
Glyn Young is the old codger that Glenda's managed to cajole into coming along to the Rovers today. I know, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope people are still hiring me for my vocal talents when I'm 80.
What can you bring to the table?
An amazing Adam Barlow accent.
Right.
They'll be hiring me for that.
I'll say, look.
To save pubs.
He might be old. He might be a bit stinky, but I tell you what he is. Honest. If he don't like something, he'll tell you about it.
You'll be able to do Alina's grandma when you're old just by doing your normal voice.
Yeah, I'm suddenly going to become like from some random
aging Romanian
Eastern European non-specific country.
Anyway, so we digress. So Henry and Philip have arrived. Philip, who had been in the show 20 odd years ago, and he makes a reference to his previous
dalliance. Dalliance for Bet.
No, it wasn't his dalliance. It was his dad's dalliance, wasn't it? It was Cecil's dalliance, but Philip had been in it at that time. Because...
Just think how close we were to Henry Newton being Bet Lynch's son.
Yes, grandson.
Oh right.
So anyway, he's there and he's proper northern, isn't he? Is Philip Newton.
Philip Newton's like, come on lad, let's go down to Rovers.
I had many.
And Henry's like, okay, father, let's go to the drinking establishment.
I had many a nits to pick about Monday's episode, but this wasn't one of them. You really didn't get on with the fact that Philip was also not plummy.
No, I know that he's already been established as a hearty northern lad who enjoys a pint.
But... I don't know. I mean, I can't even remember what his voice sounded like.
Well, you know, the Newton family, we know that they're, proud northerners.
Yeah.
From previous,
their relationship, they reminded me a little bit of, in the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
The best one.
Yes, well, yeah. There's not much competition, is there? What's his name? Mr. Salt. Yeah. He was a hearty northern lad, wasn't he? At his factory.
But a plummy little.
Exactly. And she probably got sent off to boarding school just like Henry did, as was established on Wednesday's episode. So I didn't mind that they spoke like that. That was the least of my complaints. Anyway, they're there. And then they go around the back with Jenny making them a nice tea party in the backyard. So this is when the crowd start to arrive. The crowd of Kevin, Debbie and Ronnie. And also Glyn Young, this kind of very shy, retiring old man sidles in through the door going, oh, do people say my name? No, he was Irish, wasn't he?
Yes, he's
Glyn
Irish.
Young, despite having a Welsh name.
My goodness.
He's
you can't go around accusing people of having Welsh names.
He's not only doesn't seem too powerful in the old vocal department. Right. He's also a little deaf as well, and he wants to have a nap. But he didn't get one yet, but he wouldn't mind a mug of Ovaltine from behind the bar.
I can't wait to be 78. If this is how you get to spend your days, rocking up, get Ovaltine, go to have a nap, come down, mediocre performance. Everyone's on their feet, cheering you.
Yeah. Anyway, so Daisy sees them. Was it Glenda? I can't remember. It's like, what on earth are we going to do? This guy's not going to be entertaining our crowds tonight.
Glenda's thrilled. Glenda's not surprised.
Well,
she knows he's 78.
Yeah, but I think she'd forgotten just how long ago it had been that she's seen him.
Oh yeah.
So she goes and gets Jenny from out the back and says, "Oh, I think we've got a problem, Chief." And then when Jenny sees him, he's like, "Oh, what are we going to do now?" Glenn's just chuffed to see Glenda. I think it's like I can't remember what the relationship was that was established
on the cruise ships, no doubt.
Possibly. Anyway. Glyn goes up for a sleep, as you do. Meanwhile, Henry's there looking at the numbers out the back. He's Henry, obviously, very excited about having Henry back at the moment. George Banks, sterling chap. I was waiting for the big, glorious, buffoonish, outlandish return of Henry Newton of old that we didn't quite get this week, did we? Obviously love him, but they've subdued his character somewhat. Would you agree?
I agree.
Anything you want to add to this? Or are you going to let me dig my own grave?
He's not as flamboyant as he used to be, but we know that is a deliberate choice, isn't it?
Yeah. No, he's. I think that he said in interviews, as well, welcome back interview, that they wanted to tone him down a little bit, and George has said as much to me as well. So I was prepared. I would say that if I remember back to what do I really really love about Henry?
Yeah,
it's his actions, it's his performance, It's the silly things that he does, not necessarily his lines. So they gave him some good lines this week, but they didn't want him to go over the top in delivering them like he would have done in his previous stint. There were a few bits. There was like a little wink he gives Gemma on Wednesday that was good. So at this point I was like, oh, am I not liking Henry as much as I used to? I don't know. I've grown to like him more as the week's gone on, you'll be pleased to hear. And I was also, I will say, I'm absolutely thrilled and chuffed that there's been so much love for Henry.
Yes, I wanted to say that.
Social media, hasn't there?
When they said Henry's back, I was disgusted and appalled.
Me too.
To see the number of people saying, who is that? I've never heard of him. What's going on? And also, who cares? Like, first of all, how dare you? Yeah. Second of all, if you want to be kept in the loop about what's going on in Corrie, as you guys all know, you've got to listen to us and you understand what's the point of Henry. We know everything about the show. Okay. But, everyone was a bit kind of nonplussed, like, okay, why are you bringing him back?
I knew when the announcement would come.
I know we're in a bubble.
And I was like, oh, what's everyone going to say? And I was a bit let down by people's reactions. But as soon as Monday's episode had gone on, and everyone was thrilled to bits with how Monday's episode went, apart from me, apparently.
Oh, for God's sake.
One of the things that people were saying, and after Wednesday's episode as well, is, isn't Henry bloody brilliant? Keep him.
Yeah.
For he's handsome. He's funny.
He is handsome.
Love him. Make him a regular character. And I'm really, really, really chuffed for George for that.
Yeah, there's the Coronation Street subreddit.
Yeah.
They can be a bit honest, like Michael. They say what they think.
They just want to be me.
Maybe I post there, maybe I don't. Who knows?
Do you?
You know I do because you saw me.
Well, yeah, you did it. Yeah, but then you deleted it. I haven't posted it. I just lurk.
Yeah, so I was like, there was a Henry Newton thread, and I was like, oh God, good God, what will this say? I'll look at it. I'll hold it far away from my face so that it doesn't hurt me as much. Every comment was positive.
Yeah.
There was one that said, I thought it was going to be a bit like a Jack Whitehall kind of rude word.
Well, I think that we made the Jack Whitehall comparisons when he first came into the show.
It's a fairly obvious comparison to make, isn't it? Because they're both similar sort of age and good looking and posh sounding. Yes.
George is not that posh in real life, I have to say.
That was... Wow.
What?
How dare you?
He's not!
I don't know what I'm saying. So I was really thrilled that everybody really, really likes him, and I'm feeling positive vibes. I'm hoping. I really, really want them to make him a regular character, because he is... I think he's great. I know that some people didn't like him before, maybe because of how outlandish he was. Watching
so maybe the subdued version is right.
Some of the stuff this week, it felt like I didn't get enough Henry. It wasn't quite as in your face as he was, but I'd rather have Henry back at all than have Henry
100% agree
being, in danger of being axed because he's too X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
I think he's a difficult character because he is not northern. He doesn't have a northern accent. I don't know where he's supposed to be born, or if he thinks of himself as northern.
Well, I imagine he is northern, but I'm just imagining he got sent to boarding school down here.
I don't know.
Where we speak proper.
For God's sake. I don't know how you would, you know what I'm saying, Michael.
Yeah.
He doesn't fit in to the rest of the voices that you hear on the show. And normally, when you don't have northern accent on Coronation Street, you stick out like a sore thumb, really, don't you?
Yes.
And you kind of have your what?
No, sorry, Stu is northern, isn't he?
My God.
He's just the wrong northern.
No, you can't say that.
He's just northern eastern.
So, you get someone like Lou and Rufus, but then, and even Mike Baldwin.
Yeah.
He lasted a long time.
And Spider,
yeah. So, I hope Henry remains for as long as possible. And I was very happy, as Michael said, to see that people enjoyed his performance. And I again, much better than Chutney.
No, Chester, Gemma, Chester.
I'm going to call him what I like.
It makes sense for him to be a little bit less exuberant and more got his head screwed on for what they want him to do, because they've got him in the role. That yes, they've got Philip into the show as well, but really this is not a Philip Newton story. This is about Henry, isn't it? Yeah. So if they need to have him know what he's talking about with the books and and buying and selling and everything like that. So if he'd been, falling over himself, getting drunk all the time, it probably wouldn't have worked. But as you said, I'm definitely on the side of I'd rather he be back at all. But Monday's episode, him coming in and being a little bit like that, I was kind of feeling like, oh, and it kind of disheartened me a little bit for the rest of the episode, and I think that then affected how I reacted to some of the other things that happened in the episode.
That's sad.
It is, yeah, I know, but I back up again by the end of the week. Don't you worry about that.
I think Henry was great and Monday was great, and I think that you're crazy, and I am disassociating myself from this podcast.
So, where do we even get to?
Glenda's like, good God, he's older than I remember.
Glenn Young's offering
Henry's
that.
looking at the numbers.
And I don't know.
He says that they're Aladdin.
I want to know how many seconds it took them to come up with the surname of Young for this character as well. Wouldn't it be funny if this old guy is called Young? Classic comedy. What? Don't roll your eyes at me.
Sometimes we flirt with the idea of having this be a video podcast so we can upload it to YouTube. We couldn't be able to do it because I give Michael so many looks. Sometimes when he won't let me speak, I poke him in the knee because he won't shut up.
Sometimes when I'm being too honest, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, sometimes I have to... sometimes I do that cutthroat gesture because I need the wee or to go and get another drink. Wouldn't work on YouTube.
So Jenny's thinks, this guy's dead to the world upstairs. I'm going to have to tell these gathering crowds that the party's off. So she clinks her glass and is just about to cancel when, hurrah, Glyn emerges to a round of applause. And it feels like some of the other characters have heard of him and a lot haven't. And he goes over to the side where the mantelpiece is, and he starts doing his singing. Well, and everyone's like, whoa, yeah, you're amazing, woo, 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 and they're all dancing around and they're having a bop, and I was watching it going, when he started, literally, I kind of looked at you and I'm like, oh no, he actually is bad, and it's going to save it, and then everyone was dancing around, I was like, oh, we're supposed to think he's great, and I'm really, really, really sorry, Billy Boyle, you're not my bag, baby.
You don't have to be so horrible.
I'm not being horrible.
I was surprised. I think we needed everybody dancing to get that they were excited.
I just wish that he'd been able to give a more powerful performance.
I think his hearing aid is still turned down too low.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. So they're all dancing along. Everything's going great. Philip Newton is getting up close and personal with Glenda, much to her annoyance. And Glyn finishes his set, goes into the back room with Glenda, who can't wait to get away from Philip's wandering hands. But then they do the other thing that really got my goat on this episode, which is using the old microphone still switched on and in the room with people that are saying that are bad-mouthing somebody who's over by the speakers trick. And when they did this, like for a second, I was like, oh.
I did actually go,
but then I was like, oh, but they just did this just recently. They literally
a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it was about a year and a half ago.
So
it filled with 2L's birthday party when Mimi's out in the back with Tyrone, was it? And she's there slagging off Fizz, I think it was. I can't remember the characters, but and then even then it wasn't a fresh idea, but for them to pull that one out of the bag again, I was like, oh no, that's a bit too cliche.
Do you know who would really love Henry?
Who?
Mimi would love him.
Oh yeah, definitely. She would. She'd have him for a son-in-law, wouldn't she?
Yeah, she would. Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know how.
Well,
depends on whether Henry wants to live.
We saw Phil and Tyrone with that concrete fight, didn't he? And people were imagining all sorts from that. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they wouldn't have said no to Henry of throwing his hat into the ring.
Get danger money.
Anyway, so Philip overhears Glenda telling Glyn what a dirty old perv this guy is. And he's like, I've never been so insulted in my life. Jenny rushes to unplug the speaker and blame it on Ken's Bluetooth getting through the wall, which felt a bit kind of weak for me. And it certainly didn't work on Philip. But Philip's like, no, I'm out of here. I'm out. Jenny rushes back into the room at this point, the back of the room, and says, "Glenda, the microphone's still on. What have we done?" But fortunately, Henry comes in saying, "Sorry about my dad." he is a dirty old man, isn't he? Packed him up into a taxi and taken him back home, and don't worry, it's not affected anything to do with the sale.
It's like he's a comedic sex pest, so
yeah, they're all right.
That's fine.
So it seems like it's not so bad. So Jenny's relieved things have turned out well. We see Henry in the background of a scene getting a phone call. So this is the brewery who are working at whatever time of night this is supposed to be. No, sorry, it's not. It's accountants, isn't it? Who are working at some bizarre time in the evening when it's possibly still afternoon.
That sounds like the sort of thing you would do.
But then before we can find out what it is that he's hearing, Glenda comes rushing back into the bar saying, "Oh no, Glenn's having a heart attack or something." And again, at this point, I was like,
At this point, I almost had, I was annoyed with myself because as soon as he arrived and then went for a nap, I was like getting ready to do a tweet that said something like, "I don't think Glenn's making it through the episode alive."
Yeah.
And then I thought, God, he's going to die of a heart attack, and I could have predicted it, but
I thought
it was a bit too mean.
I don't know. I didn't particularly enjoy that bit of the story. I just think the whole thing might have been better if Glenda had been allowed to sing. I don't think we needed Glyn at all in this.
Oh,
perfectly honestly, Glenda
yeah,
would have done a better job.
But what's going on though? What's going on? Has she got something in a contract that she doesn't have to sing?
I don't know.
Maybe they're reluctant to have her singing because it would just turn into a variety act.
But it doesn't matter.
I don't know.
They should have got blimmin' Jenny Bradley singing. We've seen her do it before. We've seen her performing for Alec Gilroy in the 80s.
I also think we could have got a bit of Daisy Midge.
We could have had a bit of Daisy Midge doing a bit of singing,
she can sing too. I think they're all disgustingly talented, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
I think that Jenny, Glenda, and Daisy.
They could, honestly,
what a chorale trio.
Can we have at Christmas, Corey? You've got time to write this in. I know you do. a trio of singing from these three wonderful ladies. I think everyone would love that.
So I've seen people online suggesting that if and when this whole brewery buyout falls through and the pub's still back in the same position as it has been with, we need money, does Glyn pop his clogs, leave some money to Glenda, because they do make a remark later in the episode saying, he's got nobody, and then Glenda is the saviour of the Rovers, and without Glyn coming in, this wouldn't have been possible.
Glenda and Jenny being co-owners of the Rovers could be quite funny.
Yeah, it could. Although, again, people have had these magnificent windfalls from random people in Coronation Street before, haven't they, without us having to have to introduce them? I don't know.
Jenny, love, you look really pale. What's happened? I was outside and I fell over a snail. And he said, "Oh my God, I was choking on a stone. You saved my life. Here's all my money. Take it. You need it more than I do." And it was £50,000.
Wow, a snail you really shelled out.
Do you like my accent?
Not
it's
rehearsed.
Good, isn't it? It sounds like all of the people in that story.
All the snorts.
Exactly what.
Northern snails sound like.
Exactly what Jenny sounds like.
This is turning into a weird podcast episode. It's because I'm gonna say it. I'm a little bit warm tonight, a little bit hot.
Oh yeah.
Might be affecting my podcast.
Your Latin blood is up, is it?
Anyway, Glyn's having a heart attack, and it turns out it's just angina, isn't it? We also get a scene where Sean gets talking to Debbie. Debbie's been a bit catty, hasn't she, about the whole affair?
Who is?
Debbie.
Oh.
I can talk. But she's saying, well, this is a losing battle anyway. Pubs like this one are history. And Sean... Brilliant comeback from Sean saying, I can't remember, he kind of makes some comment about, it can't all be excitement like it is at the bistro, what with your armed robberies and cocaine deals gone wrong. And then he's like, how do we do it? But, we carry on in our archaic way. I found that.
There were some great Sean lines.
There were some great Sean moments this week. And I thought his delivery of that line, perfect.
He was good this week.
Yeah.
He was on form.
He was. When in today's episode, when he's talking about Lou and he compliments her dress.
That dress is great.
You could wear that again and again and
wear it again. I thought that was brilliant.
I thought that was great. Anyway, this little exchange between them catches Henry's attention. It doesn't particularly go anywhere later in the week, but it may well do in the future, possibly. Glyn gets wheeled out by the paramedics to a round of applause.
I thought it was more that Henry's attention is caught by the fact that they're discussing how breweries and pubs are going out of business. And if I was him, I'd feel like perhaps I needed to prove something about my business.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know whether... I'm thinking, is it establishing something between Henry and Debbie? Is he going to try and...
Oh.
Not that she's got anything to do with the bistro anymore either, but...
Well, we'll see, won't we?
Anyway, Henry asks Jenny round the back for a private chat, and he says, sorry, we can't buy the place. The accountants have had a look at the books, and it is not looking good. So it's all over. He gets out a very handily available property development card from his wallet and says, look,
here you go.
Get it turned into flats.
Here's the name of a developer. At the moment, they're knocking down a pub in the Midlands, Crooked House.
What?
Did you not hear about this?
No. Oh, yes, the one that caught on fire.
Pub caught on fire, and then within 4 hours they're demolishing it, and they're not allowed to. He's like, they're busy doing that at the moment, but they'll be more than happy to come and destroy another icon of the local community. Just give them a ring.
Jenny's, I felt so bad for her.
She
was
so
welling up. She's like,
good.
This isn't what I want at all. She
Turn it into
loves
flats.
that pub.
To be fair, the one thing they need in Coronation Street is more accommodation. They need flats. There are people kipping on in stacks on sofas up and down that street.
If they turn the Rovers into flats, they just use it as an excuse to introduce another 5 families that they wouldn't know what to do with. So no, thank you very much. Anyway, George comes round to the bar later and apologises to Jenny for the whole darts debacle the other day, and he's like, oh, now it beats the Rovers. He leaves, everybody else goes, and Jenny has to take that opportunity to break it to the rest of the bar staff that the brewery's not buying. Glenda's out of the hospital with Glyn still at this point, so it's Shona and it's Gemma and it's Daisy. She doesn't go into why, just says it's a business decision. Rovers just isn't profitable enough at the end of the day, and everyone's kind of sad. Sean says, look, missus, if you can pack the pub like this out on a Monday night, didn't even have to do a quiz or nothing, you can do pretty much anything. Basically gives her a don't give up speech.
And it cuts to like 4 people in the corner with their arms crossed, looking pissed, looking annoyed.
Looking
you can
very
believe
peeved.
That? Looking peeved.
That's too hot to believe
right,
it.
and they're like, we were here for the Monday quiz, but
yeah, they probably were.
If you're not going to do it, then we won't bother coming back next week.
Stu and Roy are there in the corner saying,
Stu's like, I looked up the order of the planets.
Final scene of the episode. Mwah. Jenny in the dark. I love a nice nighttime scene in Coronation Street.
Sad
Jenny,
one, yeah.
sad. It was a little bit like... was it the end of the 10,000th episode when Rita's looking around the pub and she's having all the echoey voices? And I was almost expecting that here, but we don't get it. Jenny's there.
Jay, keep your hands to yourself.
Glenda comes back from the hospital, and Jenny's like, she has to then tell her about the brewery pulling out and saying it wasn't anything to do with you. Don't worry, we just haven't got the money coming in.
Nothing they could have done that day would have made any difference.
They have a lovely hug.
Yeah.
And Glenda says, look, I don't care what anyone says. This place is a goer. We'll find a way to make it work. Oh, Glenda, I love her so much. She's brilliant.
I love her. Yeah, but last week, don't forget, she was out the door going, I found somewhere else to rent because you're putting my rent up £10 a week. She's a bit of a fair weather friend, this woman.
But she was so good in this scene. They got such a great relationship. That bunch. She heads off to bed. Jenny's left alone, having a look at this developer's card. She gives it a punt and tries ringing them at whatever time of night this is. Says, look, can you speak to me tomorrow? Give me a ring. Then she goes up, locks up, and says sorry to Betty.
I know. Betty's like, I don't care, I'm dead.
I'm permanently smiling.
Oh, Betty,
I'll still be smiling as the wall crumble around
Betty
me.
laughs down at so much tragedy in that pub. Doesn't she?
I wonder how long that Betty portrait's going to stay.
It's got to stay there for the rest of the time. The pubs.
Is Betty? And am I going to be just controversial again here? Is she the most iconic person who's ever worked at the Rovers, or is she not?
Well,
I'm going to say not.
I'm going to say not as well.
I know that she must be the person who's worked there the longest.
I think I don't know when this portrait went up.
It was right after she died.
When...
10 years ago, 2012, she died. So it's been there 11 years, and I totally get why they would want to put that portrait up after the character died, because obviously it followed the death of Betty Driver. But I don't know.
I know. I think there should be.
I'm risking saying something controversial and whatever again.
I don't think it's controversial.
There's lots of mini pictures of other really important people to do with the Rovers there.
I don't know that montage is really full of significant characters.
It's not full of significant characters, and I'm going to also suggest, and I don't know whether I'm talking out of my arse here as well.
I mean, to the Rovers.
Yeah, I don't know whether that picture of Bet Gilroy that Philip saw, whether that had just been pinned on for the occasion or whether that's always there. I can't remember. Anyway, dug myself a big enough grave for Monday's episode.
All of these hallowed memories.
And I'm going to move on to Wednesday.
Billy Boyle's raps are ringing me right now, actually. I'm just going to have to pretend I'm not in.
Billy Boyle is just asking whether he can come onto the podcast.
He can come on the podcast. He can sing the theme tune. Shut up. Come on, Wednesday. Shut up.
Wednesday. So, Gemma's miserable about the pub. Jesney says, look, don't worry, we'll manage. You got that job at the brewery to fall back on anyway, that part-time job that's definitely not working with Henry Newton. And Gemma's like, so yes, of course, absolutely. I'm never going to see Henry ever again. We see Jenny on the phone to the developer later.
Was this today when, or was it Friday? No, it was today. On Wednesday, I mean. Yes. When Chesney was just enjoying his day off. Just enjoying a day off. Nothing to do. You know, it's
in the cafe.
No tidying, no laundry, no food prep, no shopping, nothing.
What's wrong with enjoying a day off?
He's a lazy article, that man.
You just look for any excuse.
I hate him.
Tim's like breathing a sigh of relief at the moment.
He's worse than Tim. If there was a fire and it was Tim and Chesney and I had to pick one of them, I don't know what I would do. I think I'd leave it long enough that they both died to decide. But
Jenny's on the phone to the property developer later. They're going to come round, see what the place is worth. Jenny tells this to Daisy. They're both kind of miserable about the whole prospect, but Jenny says, look, it's the only option.
It is very lucky that she owns the whole building and the land.
Fortunately, Steve isn't going to let this drop because he's got a crowdfunding page. He's all about the crowdfunding after the whole Ollie thing. So he's going to try and raise some money for the pub so that they can get out of this hole that they're in.
He's not stupid. He lives next door to a pub.
Yeah.
You don't want to give that up. Like when we were students.
You don't want it knocking down and having flats building next to it. Thank you very much.
When we were students, we lived
scaffolding will be back up again.
Yeah.
Go on. When we were students, we lived next to a Chinese takeaway. Are you going to say? And it was very nice.
Crowdfunded for that if it.
It's closed down now.
It's closed down now because I'm not there to buy banana fritters.
At 10 o'clock at night. So yeah, he's got this crowdfunding app set up, and he goes around the cabin and tries. I want to know how much Rita gave because they only ended up collecting like £600.
She's a little bee, that one.
What did Rita just like? Open her pockets and go, oh, it's 20p. Don't spend it all at once.
She's like she gives him 20p and then she pulls him by the collar and she goes, listen to me, Steve McDonald. I gave up a friendship of 20 years up over this bloody pub. I'm not about to give you money for it now. Bugger off.
Yeah, Steve is actually pretty brave asking Rita to cough up for that pub considering how it went the last time. I'm wondering as well, like, there hasn't been a scene where Jenny has outright said to Rita, Rita, money, please.
Rita, what are you doing with all your money, you hoarding dragon?
If you remember, when Jenny came back briefly in, what was it, 92, 93 or so? She wanted to set up a hair salon, was it? And she asked Rita for some money and Rita said no, and that's where they had that big falling out that lasted 20 years
Rita's
or so.
Like, ha 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 ha, I slept my way to the top. You don't think I'm going to give you money? Just shag around like I did. And then that's what Jenny did. And now she's got the Rovers.
Exactly.
And Rita's ever so proud.
I think Jenny is not going to risk that again. That's why Rita's not been asked.
What do you think she does with it? Do you think she's like, Rita her mattress is just £50 notes stacked up?
I imagine her having a big gold swimming pool like Scrooge McDuck. She goes swimming around in it.
Yeah, but she's wearing an old lady swimming costume with like a little cap with all the flowers on the top of it.
Yeah. Anyway, So they're trying to get the money that way. Clearly, that's not going to work very much. But it's nice community spirit anyway. George is there as
like
well.
The Jeffrey Bezos
Gemma. George says to Gemma, "Oh, didn't you used to date Henry? Also, I've heard. Maybe you can go and flatter your eyelashes at him and see if you can get him to change his mind." Rita doesn't think this is a very good idea, but Gemma says, "Well, we haven't got many ideas going around at the moment. I am working with him later. Maybe I'll give it a go."
Rita's saying, "Don't use your feminine wiles to get money out of a man."
Yes.
How has it served her badly in her years on Earth?
So,
she's like, "Don't bother Gemma, he doesn't look like he's about to die."
That's the thing.
He's still very young.
Take them on if they're on their last legs. By the way, have you got Glenn's number? So, that's future storyline prediction. Yeah. Rita and Glenn down the aisle, Christmas wedding.
She will be. She's so good.
Performing at their own reception afterwards.
That hussy. Yeah.
He keels over.
Pushing each other away from the microphone.
So, Henry takes Gemma to the hotel, Chariot Square, because they don't have a brewery set or something, I imagine. And she says, what's going on? I was supposed to be promoting cider today. And he says,
what's the cider called?
We still don't know. He's like, I think maybe we just have a chance to have a talk, just you and me. I'm sorry I can't buy the Rovers and anything, but there's nothing that I can do. And Gemma's like, "Oh, really?" So she puts her hands over his and flutters her eyelashes a little bit, and it seems to work. Because Henry says, "Well, fine, I'll go and have another chat with my dad. I'll be back and see what he said." During this chat, it also transpires, by the way, that he doesn't know that Gemma is with Chesney. Okay, that's very important for
therefore
later.
Also that he doesn't know that she's got a million children.
No, but what does come out, and I think it's a little bit later, is that he is a divorcee. So he's given Cressida to the old heave-ho by this point. So he's young, free and single. Why not try it again? Have another punt at Gemma if he thinks that she's also unattached.
Why not? I would.
Yeah. So George is back at the cafe later trying to raise a bit more crowdfunding cash. Although he says, but with any help, we won't need it. Gemma's going to see that Henry Newton later. Who's there to listen in? Why, it's Chesney, of course, who looks up from his table fairly miffed. Bernie says that don't worry about anything. Gemma loves you, Chesney. She's going to stay faithful. It's all okay. Chesney's clearly not okay with this, so he tries phoning up Gemma. He's there. What are you doing? How's your work going? And she lies about the fact that she's doing this cider promotion, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm at the hotel. It's busy. It's full of promo girls and everything. Sorry, can't speak now. And he's like, he knows that he's been lied to about this. Henry comes back after begging his dad, and what do you know, it worked. Philip has said that the Newton and Ridley, not only can they buy the Rovers, but it can be Henry's own special project. Although I'm sure he said project when he said it to his son. Gemma hugs him just as Chesney walks in. What are the chances of that, eh? And then we get a couple of funny back and forths between Henry and Chesney. This is where Henry calls him Chest.
Yeah, I love it.
Gave me a
what's
giggle.
your name, Chest? You know he
Chester.
knows. You know he knows his name because he's the one that put him in hospital.
Although, I mean, going to his posh boarding school, Chesters were probably 10 a penny down there. Probably more Chesters than there were Chesney in his class at school.
Probably, yeah, no doubt.
Chesney accuses Henry of trying to steal his wife, and Henry's like, "Wife? What are you talking about? I didn't know she was engaged." Henry says, "But look, she's got a wedding ring on." Henry says, "How was I supposed to know? She's wearing more jewellery than Mr. T." And Chesney squares up to Henry and punches him to the floor. And Henry's got quite a heft to him at the moment, so that probably hurt. Gemma helps Henry up, and Chesney's like, "I don't care, I'll do it again." Not only is she my wife, but she's also mother to my 4 children.
And we've got an extra one as well.
Yeah, and an extra one. And Henry's like, "Bloody hell, you part of rabbit or something."
He's like, "Listen, Henry, my mother-in-law lives with us, and she's balmy and she likes crystals, and her brother's got MND, and one of the quads is deaf, and also Gemma's got questionable personal hygiene, and she loves Scotch eggs, and also we were going to have a deal to model for Fresh Go, but we gave up because we've got principals. And there's a load of other stuff that happened to us, including we were in a caravan once, and I forgot what happened, but it was really tragic and sad. And also,
what are you
don't forget,
on about?
he's just filling him in on all the things that he missed.
Didn't need to know.
We were in Wales. It explains why all the children's names are Welsh names, and also my mother-in-law found the ring on the mountain using her psychic powers.
Thank you very much.
And Henry's like, don't need to know. I've watched the episode.
Chesney leaves. Henry realises that Gemma has been leading him on somewhat. Oh, no. So Gemma storms back to number 5 later, calls Chesney a prat, saying, look, I wasn't planning to cop off with Henry. You just happened to walk in when we were hugging. It happens all the time. Just ask around the street. She says, I was trying to persuade him to buy the Rovers with his pervy dad. Now we're going to be lucky if we can save either of my jobs. And Chesney's like, oh yeah, sorry about that.
Stupid bloody idiot moron you are.
But Gemma gets a text from Henry.
Dig a ditch and lie in it.
Anything else you want to get off your chest there about Chesney?
No, I think more things as we go. Right.
So, good news. Henry has agreed to buy the Rovers. Well, so he hasn't changed his mind, basically. Gemma and Chesney go back to the Rovers and say...
what do you mean?
Oh, no, he has at this point, hasn't he?
What are you saying?
No. That happens at the end. So at this point, this is when Henry has pulled out. It's bad news. It's the opposite of good news. Yeah, Henry's pulled out. He doesn't appreciate having a fist to the face. So he's not buying the Rovers anymore.
Yeah, good.
Chesney and Daisy say, look, go and speak to Henry again. See if you can get him to change his mind back again. But oh no, Sophia, the developer, comes in and Jenny takes her to the back. So Chesney then phones up Henry himself to see if he can have a word with him and use his all his charms that I'm sure are buried under there deep somewhere. Chesney and Henry meet up in Victoria Gardens, and Chesney's like, yeah, sorry for hitting you earlier. Still want to maybe buy the pub? And then he starts guilt tripping him a little bit, doesn't he? Saying, you know what, Henry, it's been a bit of a tough time for us Winter Browns recently. And he goes straight in there with the kicker. Gemma's brother has got MND.
Yeah, and if you don't give us any money, you're heartless.
Yeah. Henry, nice chap, understands, shakes Chesney's hand and says, I will think about that. But he then gets a little...
He's like, I'm very sorry to hear that, thank you. I've got to go and look something up on Wikipedia.
Yes. Over at the Rovers.
I wouldn't know what it was, would you? Until we had the storyline
before this story, if somebody said that I know, so someone told me so-and-so's got MND.
I wouldn't know.
Oh, yeah.
Because I got confused about what the difference is between ALS and MND. It's the same thing as Lou Gehrig's disease.
I wouldn't know, but now I'm informed because of Coronation Street. Yeah. Over at the Rovers, Gemma says the developer has agreed to put in an offer. She's selling up. Sad times. Chesney joins Daisy and Gemma in the pub later and says Henry is going to reconsider. Daisy says, well, it's too late anyway. Jenny's selling it. It's all over. Jenny heads off. Chesney heads off. Thank you very much. Daisy and Gemma carry on moping. But then, who should come through the door but Henry with an apologetic smile? He is. They sit in a booth, him and Gemma, and says, well, I've decided to buy the Rovers after all, but on one condition, Gemma. You need to come to the brewery and work for me full time as my PA. And Gemma's like, no way. Henry's like, purely professional, no funny business. Although he says just no funny business is business in today's episode, doesn't he? But he says, look, honestly, I've heard about Paul. If you come work for me, you're going to be coining it in much more than you would be with the Rovers and doing anything else, basically. So Gemma has to have a jolly hard think about this overnight, but she doesn't want to lose her marriage over it, so tough decision. Friday's episode, Gemma tells Bernie about Henry's offer, don't know what to do. I know that Chesney's not going to like it.
Chesney hates everything, including himself.
Yeah, so don't care what he thinks. Glenda's
No, she does. She cares about that. Gemma cares what Chesney thinks, but she's the only one.
Yeah. Glenda's down in the dumps in the pub later. Jenny gets off the phone from the developer. Apparently the paperwork's going to be ready to sign in the next few days, so things moving fast as usual in Weatherfield.
We've had a look on our the Rightmove property app, and
Purple
it looks
bricks,
as though
thank you.
It's very hot property. That area, there's just so many inquiries for flats.
Yeah, well,
millions of people gagging for flats there.
Stephen's looking for somewhere to live at the moment, apparently. Gemma's like, I'm really, really sorry. This is all my fault. And Jenny's like, no, don't worry. There's nothing you could have done. Que sera, sera. Bernie finds Chesney in the cafe later and says, look, can you just deal with Henry being on the scene? So what if Gemma has been invited to go to work with him? What's your deal with him? And he's like, oh yeah, handsome, rich Henry. What on earth could my deal with him be? And so Bernie's like, Gemini doesn't care about looks. Poor Sam Aston. Bernie says, look, if you trust your wife, you need to act like it. So,
yeah, stop being a horrible git.
Gemma meets Henry at the precinct later and agrees to take the job, as long as there's no funny business. He's chuffed that he's going to be working with her, gives her a big old hug.
Why on earth would you want her to be your personal assistant? I'm not convinced.
A good question, and one I've also seen asked online.
She knows what order the alphabet goes in. I'm
what
not
comes
convinced.
first, P or A? She can probably talk the talk on the phone, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't believe she would be able to answer the phone without putting on a fake voice. Hello, this is the Newton and Ridley Brewery. How may I direct your call?
It's not like he doesn't know what she's like.
I know. He's only hiring her because he feels bad.
Yeah, I think so. We'll get more to the characterisation of him as a bit and whether he's a goodie or a baddie. But anyway, he wants Gemma to be a PA, whatever. I'm sure. Whatever. I'm sure he will regret this.
I'm sure there will be no scenes of her working for him unless it's at the hotel.
Quite possibly.
Holding papers probably and him going, I've got to do an important business meeting about the cider. Have you brought the figures? And she'll be like, oh, I can't read.
Henry goes speaking to Jenny later. He tells her, yeah, we want to buy the pub, and Jenny is absolutely thrilled at this, but what's the catch? Nothing.
She's
says
very
Henry.
She's like very suspicious. The last time she saw Henry, he was pretending that he fell down the steps and trying to sue her.
Yeah,
so she's quite right to be a bit off on him.
Did you say the sewer or the cellar then?
I thought I said cellar.
Oh, I heard sewer. Anyway, Jenny shakes hands. He said, well, it's a risk, but it's a risk my dad's willing to take.
Do you believe that it's his dad? Or do you think he's just got money under his mattress?
I don't know.
He's found Ria's stash. He's like, I'm loaded. I got it's easy come, easy go, this money. I just found it under an old lady's bed.
So Jenny goes and tells everybody in the pub. Gemma's still looking a bit worried about it. But when she gets home to see Chesney later, he's like... He's not exactly ecstatic about it, but he's happy that she's going to be getting this job that's going to be getting her a little bit more money, and that's one thing they do need at the moment. So, we're ending the week with things looking good for the Rovers.
I'll give 2 thumbs down to Chesney.
I know you do.
You've
rubbish.
Already said he's so rubbish.
You're ragging on Chesney a lot more than I am on Monday's episode.
So what?
So, I loved a lot of this story. Like I've said before, proper Rovers episode, brilliant. Yes, the Rovers gang are excellent together. I think they are so fantastic together. And if this story does anything, please can it just show to everybody who's writing for them, give them more scenes together. It shouldn't feel like, a rare treat to have an episode set in the Rovers, should it? Honestly. No. That's what it always used to be. They're brilliant together.
Yes.
Might I suggest one other possible problem that I have with this?
Oh, for God's sake.
The Rovers isn't really going to be torn down, is it?
I've got an inkling that it will not be demolished like a crooked pub. And
that's why the story still, to me, isn't mega high stakes. It's about some things. Like, I'm genuinely... I wasn't, but the more I'm reading about people's discussion online, I'm now more worried. Is Jenny still going to be in charge?
That's what I'm thinking. I think they should have made their story. Does Jenny have to give up the Rovers?
Yeah.
Rather than
nobody believes the Rovers is going to be demolished. There is not a cat in hell's chance that that's going to happen. So they're kind of making the tension in the wrong place here.
You're right.
If this was real life, maybe it would get torn down.
It would be.
But
derelict.
we know there is no way that's going to happen. When he gave her the developer's card, I was like, well, so what? It's not going to be redeveloped. Jenny, Sally Ann Matthews put on another cracking performance at the end of Monday's episode where she, the character, thought that her home could be rubble within the matter of weeks. But in the back of my head, I was thinking, nah. But, like we said, the tension to me now is Jenny still going to be the landlady? Because all the discussions threads online are, who do you want to be in charge of the Rovers next?
I know.
Who'd make a good landlady? Is it time that Jenny moved on?
No.
And I'm like, bloody hell.
She hasn't even had a chance.
It's not. That's one thing, isn't it? She hasn't had a chance. She's been in the unfortunate position to be Rovers landlady during the pandemic, and I know that only, showed itself for a year and a half tops maybe in the show, but it just feels like although there's been lots of great Jenny stuff, to me it feels like she's only just getting started.
Yeah, that's what
I think it's partly because there hasn't been very many big Rovers stories with the whole gang together. If she were to leave now, I would have great memories of her time there, but it would just feel like it was cut way, way, way too short. I say Jenny needs to stay there for at least another 5 years or so. What's with the revolving door of landlords and landladies in the Rovers that people are expecting at the moment?
That's true. Why are they thinking this?
The first 35 years of the show, we had 2 people in charge of the Rovers, or 2 sets. We had the Walkers, who lasted, 25 years or so. Then we had Bet, who was there for 10, 15 or so. They don't need to change every so often. It's only after Bet that it started happening. Jack and Vera there for a year, 2 years tops. Then Natalie, same. Then you had Fred, Mike, Dougie there for a little bit. I suppose you could say that the McDonald's bucked that trend slightly, didn't they? Because even though there was a bit of a gap in between when the prices came in, there was a good chunk of time where the Rovers was Steve, Liz, Michelle's domain. And I feel that by the time they left, although, it felt weird not having them there, it didn't feel like they had only just got here like it had with so many of the other landladies. But no way is it time for Jenny to go. No. But I am getting more and more worried about it now because people are saying, who's it going to be next?
Well, that's just silly.
Do you think there is a chance, honestly?
No. Now you're making me paranoid. I would be furious if this happened.
I would be absolutely fuming.
There's no way. I tell you what, I know there's loads of comments, Ian McLeod this, Ian McLeod that, yada, 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 viewing figures, blah, 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 people talking, and I have faith in the production team and everybody. I know that they work really hard. I know that it has ups and downs. I understand the criticism. I don't have a massive problem with the way things are going, really, in general. But if they were to get rid of Jenny at the Rovers, it's considering they've got Glenda, Daisy and Jenny, who I think are genuinely the best bar staff that we've had in Corrie since Bet, Annie and Fred and Betty.
Crikey.
I think that's true. If they got rid of these 3, I would think that they should all be fired.
If they get rid of Jenny, does Daisy then automatically go with her, being her stepdaughter? Is that right? Yeah, stepdaughter. Yeah. Glenda doesn't necessarily need to go. Sean's never going to leave. They could well demolish the pub and he'd still be there clinging to the walls, which some people will probably quite enjoy seeing. But no, don't break up what we've got. Jenny is a brilliant landlady. She's confident.
She's fantastic. She's got the right amount of vulnerability. She's a genuine person. She's fantastic at comedic scenes, but she's also really brilliant at the dramatic ones. She's such a talented actress. The character is great. She's a legacy character. And then you've got Daisy, who is a massive fan favourite, hugely talented as well, a great character. And Glenda, who is just magnificent.
I'd be wondering, what would they do next with Jenny if they were to retire her for the Rovers anyway?
I can't see. She feels to me a bit like what's happened to Toya, where there's a character that's floundering, who's a legacy character, fantastic actress, but it doesn't feel like there's an obvious place in the show, because I don't know what they do, the family unit is really Nick, Leanne and Sam, and then you got Toya hanging on, and then where's her job? She works at the bistro. Does anyone care who works at the bistro? No.
The majority of the landlords and landladies, probably not vast majority, but the majority have moved on from the show after they stopped being in charge. Annie Walker moved away. Bet moved away. Stella moved away.
Yeah. Well,
Jack and Vera didn't.
Toya's still there.
And Jack and Vera didn't flounder after they left. But I don't know where the natural place for Jenny is. I think that she's got a really secure position there in the pub. There is absolutely no need to get rid of her. She is kind of the life, the vibrance, the confidence, everything that a great Rovers landlady should be. And nobody should be looking and saying, oh yeah, but it's about time,
and have
rubbish. That as their only reason. So all these discussions about, oh, shall we put Sally there in charge? Shall we put Glenda, make her the landlady? Who else could it be? No, completely unnecessary.
I'm sorry,
the end of this story needs to retain Jenny ruling the roost in the Rovers, perched on that bar stool at the back of the bar. Sorry, that's where she belongs. She needs to stay there for a good 5 years at least.
Going to take anybody seriously who tries to posit, oh, when's Amy McLeod leaving? Oh, Coronation Street's not as good as it used to be, blah, blah, blah. Who then posits, oh, who should be the new landlady of the Rovers? Now Jenny's going to go. Like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. You genuinely don't know what you're talking about. If you're going to start saying, oh, it's about time to change. And this is just a person that you've made up in my head now. I don't even know who this person is, but I hate them.
I don't mind if other people are owning the Rovers. If they're saying that she's struggling and the pandemic's hit her financially, they can't keep it afloat without the help of someone else, fine. I said last week in the podcast, I don't really see a problem with Newton and Ridley owning the Rovers return again. They owned it for the first 35 years of the programme, 35 years, of the programme. So why not have them in charge again? If it falls through, which it may well do, and somebody else has to own it, if Glenda's the owner, maybe, it would make the balance of power a little bit difficult. I mean, do you think that Jenny would be able to work for Glenda? Would it be working for Glenda? Would Glenda be happy to be just the barmaid if she was also the owner of the pub? I don't know.
They'd be co-owners and there'd be a bit of sniping and then everyone would forget, just the same way that nobody really remembers who owns the cabin.
The other idea that I've seen mooted around is that the community bands together and they all buy it, and because that's a thing that happens with pubs. You get members of the community chipping in and co-owning it. I mean, even when we had Dougie and Mike and Fred owning it, it was the kind of triumvirate. It wasn't just one person. But yeah, apparently communities can band together and co-own the pub. A little bit like how you got your 50 centres in the factory. Yeah. But I think that because they've already got that going on in the factory, I don't want to see it in the Rovers. It feels a bit twee to have all these long-lasting businesses that, yeah, maybe in the real world wouldn't still be standing after all these years, owned by the community, because Coronation Street is all about community and family and everything like that, you know? Mm-hmm. So I'm not too hot on that idea, but I don't mind either way. I still don't get, you know, whoever owns it, that doesn't necessarily get rid of the problem that it's not turning a profit, does it? Mm. So I don't know what the answer to that is.
No, I agree with you.
Do you think, because are they just going to brush that one under the carpet at the end and
say,
oh,
just going to forget it? Honestly, I just think that I think the storyline's going to end with, turns out that Henry was not actually supposed to be able to buy the pub. He lied. He doesn't have any money. His dad still says no. He tried to get the money from somewhere, but it didn't work out. It was all a big ruse. He tries to get in Gemma's pants. She says no. He goes away. Jenny goes, oh, yeah, I remembered that actually Johnny left me this Picasso. I should have said that first. And then it will just be like everyone forgets that it ever was a thing.
I don't want it to be forgotten. I'd hope that there is some kind of satisfactory conclusion to this, because this is a real genuine feeling story at the moment about a pub struggling post-pandemic, and I wouldn't want them to just sort of wave their magic wand, but I need this to go back to everything's happy and restoring the status quo at the end of it.
Coronation Street doesn't care about pubs closing and try and reflect the cost of living crisis. I don't know why, because I think that they could actually do it justice. They don't they don't really like thinking too hard about business. You know, they come up with a few ideas, and you know, you can argue it's not really their job to try to ground things in that much reality, but I just wish that they would do something that changes changes the Rovers slightly in a logical way that then makes it make sense. You know, like, why don't they have a bigger menu? Why don't they start selling smoothies, or, you know, making it a cafe during the day, or do something with it that pubs, like, make it a gastropub, or do something.
I really wouldn't mind that whatsoever. Coronation Street does need to evolve to stay relevant, and so much of the street is kind of stuck in the past a bit.
It's not like they have to come up with an idea out there themselves to, like, single-handedly save the pub trade in the UK. There's going to be people around the country who are in the same position in real life as Jenny is, and they will have come up with something. They just have to look and go, that's a good idea, we'll just nick that for the Rovers and make Jenny do what, you know.
You know my amazing idea for saving the Rovers? Make it a parcel collection depot. I hear they're all the rage. Got that one off Hardy.
What was it that... why don't they have a late licence? Why don't they have...
late licence.
Why don't they do bottomless brunch?
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the great ideas that... Why don't they just hire...
hire Alia. So, let's go back to Henry. Is Henry on the level? Is he to be trusted at the moment? What do you think?
Given the history of the character, I'm going to say no. Don't trust him. I love him, but he is a cad, isn't he?
It's a really difficult one because he came into the show being a dodgy geezer who's was only dating Gemma for a bet. Mm-hmm. His final story was trying to pretend that he'd fallen down the Rovers stairs and broken his arm, and it was Jenny's fault, trying to sue her, make a false compo claim. But there was a lot of genuineness about him in the middle bit. Some of my favourite Henry bits were him genuinely loving Gemma and just having a good old honest fun with her.
Yeah.
And he is coming across to me this week as wanting what's best for the pub. He's been saying, you know, this place meant a lot to my granddad, and this is a real, you know, pillar of the community.
Say one thing about Henry that they haven't done, and I don't know if it's just because that George Banks is such a great charismatic actor or what it is, but they haven't made him pretentious.
No.
Which would be a really tempting thing to do with, you know, he doesn't patronise people really, and he's very open and accepting of the fact that they have a completely different way of life to him. And I know that sounds condescending, but if you're super, super, super mega rich and you come into this world of, you know, people who genuinely have a completely different lifestyle to you, it can be difficult to find common ground. But the character of Henry has always just been a really nice kind of open guy, even though the way he first came in, obviously he was a bit of an arse.
But Gemma opened his eyes to the fact that not everybody has to be born with a silver spoon in their mouth, and some genuine down to earth people can actually be lovely.
But I don't think that he was ever particularly toffee nosed.
I think he kind of was. And Gemma was the one that brought him down to earth a little bit more. But I think he still is a straight up guy. I've seen lots of people this week saying, "Why? This doesn't make sense. This is completely unreasonable that he would fancy Gemma." Sorry, no. Gemma is a nice girl under there, isn't she? Yes, she's got some
good heart.
She's got some, unfavourable habits there. But she was Henry's first
love.
Maybe. First
what are you trying
boarding
to say?
school love. I don't know. So I completely buy that he still does hold a torch for her. Is he just trying to get her to work for him so that he can sexually harass her in the workplace? I kind of hope not.
Yeah, me too.
I think he genuinely wants to give her a job. When who was it? Henry was telling him about Paul in the MND. He's not. I don't believe that he's saying, that's what I'm going to exploit to try and get her by my side, and I'm going to whisk her away from that boring Henry. Chesney. If Gemma decided herself that she's better off with Henry and she wants to leave Chesney, I'm sure Henry wouldn't say, no, go back to your ginger lover. But I don't think he's trying to steal her. I really want to believe that he's just offering her an opportunity to get some money, which is what she wants. I'm hoping that we are going to get some funny scenes with her as a PA. I think we might get something, but I don't know what.
She's going to not understand anything that she's supposed to be doing, and perhaps there's going to be a snobby secretary who is a glossy girl. Who's like,
what on earth you got doing it?
Mr. Newton, why have you hired this woman?
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't know where they're going to do this.
Even with, they've got Philip Newton. What's he going to think about Gemma being his son's PA? Probably not too happy. Although, he liked Glenda and she's pretty rough, isn't she? So, maybe.
I think she's quite glamorous compared to Gemma.
Compared to Gemma, yeah. So I'm hoping that they get some good comedy writers to do those scenes.
If Henry really is still after Gemma, props to him for not running a mile when he found out she had 5 kids, because I would have run screaming.
We've also not had any of the classic soap evil look over the shoulders or anything from him. He did
look pleased with himself at one point, but that was only because he had... I can't remember, it wasn't nefarious.
He seems as honest as the day is long to me at the moment, but maybe I'm just biased towards him and I think he's great, but I believe he just wants what's best for Gemma. I may well be proven wrong. I don't know. So, yes, at times during this week, I was watching Henry thinking, he's not quite the Henry that I remember, but as I'm getting more and more used to that now, I'm warming up to new Henry. I'm still absolutely thrilled that he's back. And very, very, very happy that everybody's enjoying him as well. So long may it continue.
You know what I say to you?
What?
I'm sorry for your loss. Move on.
Speaking of which, Gemma, let's go on to the Rufus memorial story. Tie-pin pool. Unless you got anything more to add about the Rovers' demise?
I think we've spoken enough, and by we, I mean you.
Sorry.
I'm just joking. My God, you're so sensitive. It's just I insult you in front of millions of people. Okay, right. Tie-pin pool. Great. Love it. On Monday, Rufus's wife Lou wants to speak to Stephen about Nipper Snapper. And am I right in thinking that now she's inherited this interest that Rufus had in the business?
I don't know.
I think that's what she was talking to Carla about on Friday.
She's inherited something.
Yeah.
Whatever business... interests that Rufus had invested in, but
anyway, also everyone, if you haven't heard already, trivia: the actor who plays Rufus and the actress who plays Rufus's wife Lou married in real life.
I know,
just like us. Yeah, exactly the same. Also both Southern.
Yeah,
just like us. No, I don't know. You're not Southern anyway. Right. So Rufus's wife wants to speak to Stephen about Nipper Snapper, and he tries to get Michael to talk to her because he is he doesn't want to, be confronted by this woman. But
the widow of his victim.
Michael is scared because he was involved in this thing at the time. So Stephen says, well, fine, I'll do it. So Lou comes in and says, Stephen, the meeting tomorrow's cancelled because the inquest is coming back to Rufus's death and it's going to get published tomorrow, and I don't think we should have a meeting on the same day.
In it. And
also, I don't reckon he just drowned in the pool. What they said, I think there's something fishy about it. I'm going to be telling everyone who will listen, okay? So he's like, oh no. Michael tells Stephen that he's worried that this story about Rufus's unsavoury death is going to make it to the national papers and it's going to affect business or whatever.
Michael went round there around the time of Rufus's death, didn't he?
Yes, he was the one who spoke to somebody, didn't he?
Did he speak to the housekeeper?
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, he's worried that he's going to get dragged into this.
Yeah, I would be. I'm surprised that they weren't asked to go to the inquest, honestly. Anyway, so Stephen is having a late night whiskey in the factory, sitting in the dark, refreshing articles online, trying to see whether Lou's managed to get the case reopened.
Yeah, he'd thought that this...
it's all over and done
it was all over and sunk and buried, but no.
No. On Wednesday, Stephen is speaking to Michael on the phone, saying, "No, nothing's come out about the inquest. I forgot all about it. I'll let you know if I hear anything." And Carla comes in saying, "Oh, somebody's come to buy the place. Can you come talk to them about Nippersnapper. I'm confused about who owns what. I thought this was Stephen's business with Michael and Sarah, not Carla's business to sell with the factory.
What is?
Nippersnapper.
I don't think it matters. It was just a way of engineering
because
Carla
Coronation Street has brought it. This is the trouble. This is the trouble about these business things. This not even Coronation Street cares about these business rubbish, but they make us watch all these scenes about people having business meetings. I've seen more business meetings on Coronation Street than I've gone to in my real life.
So Owen is still involved with Nippersnapper, isn't he? And that's Sarah and Michael, but they're still somehow related to the factory because the meetings are all going on in there.
Oh yeah. But anyway, sorry, I brought it up, honestly.
I don't
During the meeting with Carla, Stephen's just on his phone looking at the articles to see if he can find anything about the inquest. So this woman's going around looking at the factory, looking at everything. She's like, you know what? At the end of the day, don't fancy buying this. And I think this was when they were in the... Yes. This was when they were in the bistro. And she's like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to buy the factory, but wank, buy Stephen. And and Carla's like, what's going on? And then in comes Lou. And she's like, oh, Stephen. And Carla's like, why are the women all buzzing around you today, Stephen? What's so great about you? So, Lou gets introduced to Carla by Stephen, and Lou's chatting to Carla, and Stephen's there like...
He's zoning out, isn't he?
Ooh, dramatic.
More dramatic editing.
He snaps out of it as Lou is saying that Rufus's death has been ruled death by misadventure, but I don't know what that means. Is that where you get hit on the head when you're sailing boat trying to set up
that kind of thing,
insurance job? Left alone with Stephen, Lou tells him about the fact that he and Rufus and she have children, Jules and Tabitha. What great posh names they are. They're fantastic, aren't they?
Actually
Chester and Tabitha. And he was a great dad, actually, even though I didn't like him. He was actually a really good dad. And I don't believe that he would have overdosed. And she's like, he was so good at drugs. He just took a tiny amount every time. He microdosed. He would never have taken loads.
She said that she was surprised that he overdosed or took more than he can handle and then drowned. But we literally saw him back, when was it, February time, getting rushed to hospital because he'd had too much drugs.
But wasn't that Stephen?
No, I don't think so.
I
thought he did that to himself.
I don't know, but I think anybody who thinks that you can't kid yourself. If you know your partner or ex-partner's like taking drugs, I would never be so confident.
No. Stephen couldn't have done that to him because that was the first time that Stephen got his hands on the LSD, wasn't it? It was after Rufus went to hospital and the LSD was in his briefcase. Okay. So Rufus absolutely did overdose himself.
This is where...
So if I was Stephen I'd be saying, no.
Yeah.
He did take too much sometimes.
I was actually hanging out with him and he was off his face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so on Friday, Stephen comes in and tells Tim.
Yes.
He doesn't know, he's struggling to find somewhere to live.
Do you remember this scene?
No, I don't.
This was when they're by the...
I was probably eating my curry.
You were eating your curry at this time.
That.
This was when Tim and Peter had been having banterful conversations about tomato sauce in the fridge and various things.
I don't remember this at all.
No,
I know what I was doing.
I
know what I was doing.
I
was writing a special thing.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Stephen comes and tells Tim, can't find anywhere to live. Tim's like, whatever, stay as long as you want, I don't care. And when Stephen goes, Tim says to Peter, I'm keeping him close because he's my enemy. Carla makes Stephen agree to come to Rufus's memorial and he's trying to get out of it. And Carla says, no. The Donahues are huge for Underworld. You've got no choice. You've got to come. So they hold the memorial, everyone's favourite multifunctional hotel space, Chariot Square Hotel.
Debbie's probably like, laughing away to the bank, isn't she?
Money, must be funny.
Why doesn't Debbie say, you know what? Have it at the Rovers. They're not doing so well at the moment.
I can't keep all this cash to myself. I've got nowhere to put it. My mattress is stuffed with £50 notes. Why don't you have some money, everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, maybe Debbie could buy into the Rovers. She must be absolutely loaded.
Yeah. Well, so the memorial's at the hotel, and Carla and Stephen have turned up there, and they're like, oh God, hardly anyone else is here. How embarrassing. I think Michael's there as well. Yes, he is. And then along comes a small orphan.
Half orphan.
Excuse me, Governor. Are you here for my dad's memorial? How did you know him? And Stephen's like, oh my God. Oh, I forgot you had children. Carla's like, well, we're here for your dad. He was a nice man. Everybody loved him. And then Lou comes over, goes, thanks very much for coming. Go and have yourself a nice sausage roll in the buffet, won't you? So they all go and sit around, and Carla's like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Imagine if you died and like 3 people turn up at your funeral and they all hate you. And Michael's like, look, I don't care. I'm only here for business purposes. Later on, Stephen has felt guilty because he feels obviously really bad being confronted by this child.
Who he semi-orphaned.
Jules.
Yes.
Tabitha, they haven't cast Tabitha, so don't expect her to turn up. And he finds...
That was just like...
That was so weird.
Why even introduce that he had a daughter if they can't be bothered to cast her?
Maybe there's a reason, but we don't know what it is. So, Stephen's got all the underworld people to come to this funeral to pretend... And he's like, pretend you knew him somehow. I don't know how. And so, what is it? Sean's like, oh yeah, I was in a tap dance club with them. I can't remember.
I don't remember. That must have been it. My
and he's like, everyone shut up. I'm going to do a speech about my late husband, okay? Come here, Jules. Come up here. Say a few words about your dad. So he's like, my dad could be a right idiot sometimes, but he could also be really funny. And I'm sad he drowned in a swimming pool. And I was like, oh, this is so tragic. Stephen gets overwhelmed and leaves. And then he comes back later and he has a chat. And he's like, sorry, I think it's your accent. It's giving me a headache. She's like, oh yeah, I get that a lot actually. I've got pills in my bag. So she pulls them out and there's a plastic bag of Rufus's effects from the hospital. She's like, yeah, this is all his stuff. He's got his special glasses that he couldn't see nothing without. And this tie pin, this mysterious tie pin I've never seen before in my life. And then we have a flashback to Stephen drowning him in the pool and dropping his distinctive tie pin on the floor. Silver tie pin engraved with, to my darling husband Stephen Reed, lots of love, your loving wife Gabrielle. Kiss, kiss, kiss.
Almost.
What does it say?
I don't remember. I think it just says love G.
Love G. See,
This is just like Laura Nealon in The Watch again, isn't it?
Yes, it is a bit. So
I'm glad this tie pin's back. It was clearly going to come up because they didn't make a big thing of it. They
do have a flashback so that we all remember.
Yeah, but no, when it actually happened, I think I said it at the time, I wish they hadn't had that scene of Sean saying, ooh, what a lovely tie pin you're wearing, Stephen, and that they just left it to the viewers to notice that Stephen was wearing a tie pin before going to Rufus's house, but not afterwards.
It's not a crime show.
The fact that we saw Sean going, oh, what a lovely tie pin, it made us look out for the tie pin. And that would have been a really great twist today if we'd have then been able to look back at the episodes in February or so and go, oh my gosh, it was staring us in the face all along.
That's not.
And I think probably for some viewers, probably for a lot of viewers, to be honest, I know that we've not started going on about it, but viewers who don't listen to the podcast might not have noticed that little tie pin clue, so now they can go back and watch it and go, oh yeah, of course. But to me, I was like, oh, I already knew that, already saw that one coming. So I'm glad that it's finally out there in the open, because I was half worried that this tie pin secret was going to be kept for months and months and months and months further, and then that would be the one thing that finally trips him up and leads to his ultimate downfall. But it still is a worrying situation for him at the end of this episode, but I don't think it's going to be what finally sees him leave the show, because I'm not expecting him to be going anywhere anytime soon.
So the mourners file out later, and Carla's like, oh, it's the first time your husband died, is it? Yeah, well, I've had loads of them. My first husband, died. He's trying to kidnap somebody, actually. Funny story. She's like, yeah,
You know that Leanne in the bistro, that Mardy cow?
Come here. Do you know that blonde woman, right? Do you remember when we was at the bistro? You know that blonde woman is staring daggers at us, right? She's probably still a bit of a grudge.
She was in the boot when my husband had a car accident 15 years ago. He died.
She jumped out, ran away, swearing her knickers. It was dreadful. Also, that same time, I had to take over the factory. I didn't know what I was doing. Took over the factory, no idea. Do you know what I did?
Why does Carla sound like...
It sounds like me. You know what I did? I went in there and I just mouthed off. I was like, right, everyone, I'm in charge. You got to do what I say. And it worked. And I still don't know what...
She gives us some sage business advice, doesn't she?
I actually still don't know what we make in the factory, but I think I style it out. Come have coffee with me later. And by coffee, I mean cocktails and a full meal in the bistro. So I don't know if you saw Leanne. I want you to look her in the eye. It's quite funny. Stephen says, "Oh, you guys look so upset. You go up. I'll bring all the things, like this tie pin in a bag," and falls on the floor. And Sean's like, "Oh, here's your tie pin." He gives it a look, doesn't he? A very significant look, and sort of flounces off. And Stephen's fuming because he was going to try and steal it out of the bag. I don't know how he thought.
It's kind of good for Stephen at the end of the episode that he didn't steal away from the bag, because as we go into Monday's episode, Lou doesn't suspect Stephen at all. But if he'd have taken that tie pin, which, at the time he didn't know that she thought it was significant. I think he was he just kind of hoping that she wouldn't notice that the tie pin was gone? I don't know. But if he'd have taken it and then it would have eventually maybe been found again, that would have been a lot more serious for him.
So he doesn't get his hands on this tie pin. Lou would have noticed it was missing. So anyway, Carla and Lou in the bistro later, and Lou's talking about the fact that she's inheriting this business. I don't really know what she's inheriting. I'm assuming we should know, but I don't. It's business.
Just business stuff.
Peter comes
Just
in.
Assets.
Peter comes in,
and
right?
Shares.
This was great.
And
because
files.
I'd forgotten this as well. Yeah. Peter comes in and he's like, "What are you talking about, girls?" And she's like, I was just thinking about the fact that my husband always had this right posh watch that he used to wear all the time. And it was dead expensive, and it was his pride and joy, and he didn't have it I didn't get it back. He didn't have it on him. Where's it gone? Was he robbed? Could the robber murdered him? They investigated this? And Peter's like, "Oh my God, excuse me, I've got to go." Runs off to the toilet to crap his pants. Comes back later when Lou's gone and says, "Carla, I know that watch she's talking about. I actually stole it off him because he was being a dickhead to me. I don't know if you watched the episode, but it was horrible. And I sold it to pay for your rehab." And Carla's like...
He didn't steal it. He just found it in the cab and didn't return it.
I don't know if anyone remembers this or not, but this was when Rufus was getting a lift because... Peter was driving the taxi, and Rufus was like, "You're rubbish. I earn more than you do. I earn more than you would earn in 100 years in one day. Look at my watch, it's worth more than your house," and stuff like that. So Peter's like, "Well, I'll have it then, thanks very much." So he explains this to Carla, and she's like, "I can't believe you've done this. You need to tell Lou that you stole it, or maybe we should just go find the watch. Said that you put it in a pawn shop. Perhaps it's in that one that's round the corner."
Yes, is it the one that's in the precinct? Quite probably. We need to go and buy it and give it back to her. And he's like, "Look, I'm going to see what I can do." I don't know where this money's supposed to have come from all of a sudden. They didn't. Money? The money to buy the bloody watch back. Wasn't it 40 grand? I don't know.
I think it was quite a lot of money. So anyway, in the Rovers later on, Sean decides to start talking about tie pins. And he brings up the fact...
I can't remember. There's some kind of contrived conversation. This
conversation started off nowhere near tie pins and ended up with Sean pointing out that Stephen and Rufus both had a very similar looking tie pin. Therefore, ergo, they're back in fashion. And Stephen's like, "Oh my God, I've got a phone call to make." Runs out.
"I've never had a tie pin in my life."
Yeah, he does. He's like, I don't even know what a tie is. Walks out. He calls Lou and says, Can I come round the hotel? I need to have a meeting with you. And she says, "No, I can't."
You're doing all the voices.
I can't. I've got to go down to the police station tomorrow, talk to the Rozzers about this mysterious typing. Because I was looking at it and it's got Love G on it. And I was thinking that maybe it's like OG, like an original gangster or something. But I think it might belong to someone who killed him. And he's like, oh, God.
Expertly recounted. Finn. That story, your favourite story of the year. I'm
available for Audible. If you want me to read books to children, I can do that.
Jackanory.
I could do anything. I could be on children's television. I could be on, I don't know, Channel 4 at midnight. Whatever you fancy. I can do all the voices.
How did you find the development of the Stephen storyline this week? Were you paying attention? Do you have any opinions on it?
I don't remember the ketchup conversation.
No.
But on the whole, yeah. I thought the typing. I thought it was a bit weird that like they had a bag, like this they fished his corpse out of the swimming pool, and they were obviously like, oh, we got to give the widow some stuff. What should we give her? This vial of LSD in his sodden dressing gown, or this random typing in his glasses that we found on the floor. Why did they give him? Was the typing involved in this?
What do you mean? Why was it involved?
That when they pulled... Right, I got the impression that he was dragged out of the pool and taken to the autopsy room and, investigated, and they would have taken all the things that was on him and put them in a bag and then given it to her later. But the tie-pin wouldn't have been there. It was by the side of the pool.
Yeah.
They were like, oh yeah, we've got an empty bottle of champagne, 2 wine glasses, bottle of LSD...
A statue made of disco sparkly
the theme tune to the Guinness advert on tape.
You really want this typing, so it must be something special. I thought the whole thing with the type-in reintroduction was super clunky. I would have preferred it to just be a bit more sneaky than it was. It was too obvious, saying like having a mega flashback about it. They could have done without a flashback.
I don't know.
But Sean finding this typing on the floor and going, ooh, a typing. And then Gabrielle at the end of the very same episode saying, I think there's something mysterious about this typing. How long has she had this bag of his stuff? Has it just been recently since she went to the police station?
She just got it because the inquest is finished.
Okay. The conversation in the pub that somehow managed to get round to typings, it just all felt a little bit too contrived for me, and I don't know how they'd have done it, but maybe I'd rather they just got on with it
instead of spending 3 episodes bringing up a type-in. The thing is, we always make this complaint, and I have maybe started to come around to the fact of just accepting this is not, Agatha Christie. It's a soap. It's not a murder mystery. Although I wish they would put a bit more effort in. Because these stories, I really like these stories.
I think bits of it just felt a little bit rushed today. It's difficult not to make comparisons to Richard Hillman at Maxine's funeral. And that felt huge. And they had a big church packed out full of big characters. They had the people there that were suspecting him. I mean, there's no reason for Tim to have been there at the
but this wasn't
thing this afternoon.
This wasn't a funeral of a significant character.
No, I know. It
wasn't serving the same purpose as Maxine's funeral.
That was Maxine's funeral was when Audrey suddenly realised, hang on a minute, it was him. And Richard had to go up and stand there and make a speech about Maxine, but stumble over his words. And this was similar in that Stephen was confronted with this poor child that he's semi-orphaned, and it just didn't feel quite as affecting. They had him go off at the end of a scene, like overcome with guilt for what he's done, but then he seemed kind of pretty much okay in the next scene. It didn't have the emotional resonance that it could have done. I don't know, it didn't quite work for me. I'm glad that there's more as I've enjoyed the walls closing in on him, and I like always seeing how he's going to get out of it. The problem is I often will say, oh, can't wait to see how he gets out of it, and then it's something very easy the next episode. So he's now in the situation where she's going to, is she going to get this type-in fingerprinted? Stephen's not got his fingerprints on record, has he?
No,
he's going to get out of it.
Yeah, he's going to get out of it. I mean,
is it just temporary peril again?
I'm surprised he didn't say, "That's my typing."
He could have just said that, couldn't he?
And like, he should have been like, "Why? When did you go see him? I don't understand." And you would have been like, I've met him loads of times because we were doing a business deal. She doesn't know half of what went on between Rufus and Stephen. Otherwise, she wouldn't be saying, "Oh, he was really good at microdosing. Just because he's taking drugs, I don't understand how he died of them."
Yeah, I suppose Stephen...
I would be a lot less surprised that somebody I knew took illegal drugs died of an overdose than somebody who didn't.
If Stephen said he went round there many times, perhaps the housekeeper might have said, "Well, I never recognised you."
It's fictional. They can write what they like.
Do you think that if he said he was going to go round the hotel to see her, do you think that he actually wanted to murder her and steal the type in, or was he just going to try and...
I don't know what his plan was, but I think he's lucky that he didn't get a chance to get his mitts on that thing, because I think he would have just taken it out of the bag and then been like, "What do you mean? What type in? I don't remember a type in."
I don't know. I'm interested to see where it goes, but I'm thinking he's probably going to squirm out of this fairly easily next week.
There's nothing about it that means it's his type in. And honestly, when Sean was saying to him, "Oh, you had a type in, Rufus had a type in, they're fashionable," he could have just gone, "Yeah, they are fashionable, everyone's got one." That would be a lot less suspicious than being like, "No."
Just imagine if Sean is the one that brings down Stephen Reed at the end of this.
I wonder what people would think, because I'm pretty sure there's a large overlap of people that hate Sean and hate Stephen.
Yeah.
What they would be like, "I don't know how to feel about this."
Anyway, I thought this story ramped up better on Friday. I wasn't too into it on Monday Monday and Wednesday, but today's was quite good, I suppose. Right, the Poppadom story. Was anybody into this story this week?
Honestly,
genuinely, did anybody care?
Oh, is Eliza talking to a pedo? No, it's her dad. The end.
I literally went into last week's podcast thinking, well, it's clearly somebody dodgy, and it was you that said, it's not, it's her dad. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense, and you were right.
I did say, maybe her dad is also a pedo.
You did?
I did, so...
Well, he seems...
Look out for that fun twist. I don't think he is, no.
I don't think he is either. It seems like they're making him look a little bit... Does he look that dodgy? Not really. He's just a bit of an hard geezer.
I don't
that
like
doesn't
to be
mean he's
dismissive,
automatically evil.
But this whole storyline I found boring, and I don't even want to talk about it because I found it really boring. Literally, that's all that happened. Eliza was talking to this mystery man. Turned out it was Stu. Turned out it was Dom, and he is actually her dad. And
let me say what happened.
I know, but do you know what I mean? It's like it's really boring.
I don't
very often have such a visceral response to a story that I just don't even want to sit through.
Let's whiz through it.
I don't want to sit through it. It's just boring.
Well, you got to.
I don't care. I don't mind Eliza, but I don't care about her.
I liked Eliza more when she first came into it. I don't know whether it's the story, but I'm not. I
like Stu and I like Yasmin, but I like them more when they're not in it as much.
Right, so Eliza's gone off to Summer Club, or so she says on Monday, but when Stu finds out from the shop that Summer Club's not on today, he starts panicking. So we have this mega action cam scene after the break on Monday's episode. It's going, "Oh, Yasmin, man, I don't know where Eliza is. She's not at the Summer Club, it's not on. Where could she be? She could be anywhere. Probably the precinct or something." Yeah, she is at the precinct. The very first place you look, there she is. And she's coming out as sweet enough with a dodgy looking guy. So Stu races over him and says, "Get away from my granddaughter." But he's not a pedo. He's her dad. It's Dom. And this guy says, "Look, I am definitely her dad. Here's a picture of me and her just after she was born." That's clearly her, isn't it?
That could be any baby.
That could be any baby. Literally anybody, but it works for Stu because we have seen recently he's not the brightest bulb.
Well, to be fair, it's a picture of him and a baby and Stu's daughter Bridget.
That is true.
That would be quite hard to sort of have thought that far ahead. Like when I'm in 12 years' time, I might want to prey on a child on the internet. I probably should set up an alibi here with a baby.
Good point.
I better make sure the baby's not wearing any distinctive colours to make it the gender in case it's a boy or a girl.
They head back to number 6 together, and Dad's just he's seems a bit wary of saying to Stu, look, you seem to be doing quite a good job with Eliza here, because he seems to want to get a little bit more into his daughter's life again. He says, I didn't have a chance to get involved in my daughter's life back in the day. I was a deadbeat dad. I didn't stay on the scene for very long. I haven't seen her since she was a baby. And they also bring up the fact that, because people are wondering this, why didn't Eliza automatically get moved to live with him when Bridget went to prison? It turned out that he just decided that it was too much effort for me to take on at the time. But I regret what I've done now, and I want to be part of her life.
Lucy used to tell Bridget bad things about him.
Oh yeah, they did bring that.
So there's bad blood between Bridget and Dom, and Lucy hates him.
Yes.
And he also, like many people would be, I don't fancy a spare kid.
Yes. So at the end of the episode, Jasmine's with Stu having a bit of a dark drink in number 6, and he says, "Look, I don't know what to believe about Dom. He says he's a good guy, but he seems a bit iffy to me. Yeah. And also, how am I going to tell Bridget?
How are you going to tell Bridget?
Who's telling this story?
I've got an idea for children like Eliza.
Yes.
You know, Too Good to Go up.
Yes.
Where it's like, I've got this spare food, I don't know who wants it, and you can say, I'll have it. What about that, but for kids?
Eliza is not too good to go. She's having a lovely time with her granddad's stew.
Excuse me, I've had some really good meals from that app. But also, do you remember that time we was going to get that rotisserie chicken and I cancelled it?
Yes. Wednesday. Stu tells Yasmin that he's talking to Bridget later. He doesn't want Eliza to know yet, though, because he's not expecting Bridget to be very happy about being in touch with Dom. So Eliza, later we see with Sam in speed dial, I think. Yes, it's boring. You don't have to sigh quite so audibly. And Sam says, I didn't know my dad when I was growing up either. But now he's great. And Eliza says, well, Mum's not going to be happy. Oh, well, my mum wasn't very happy about me getting involved with... we're exactly the same, dead. You and I. Fellow dad finder Sam completely sympathises with Eliza in this position that she's in. But he's not in it for the rest of the week, so it doesn't matter. Stu phones Bridget, who we actually get to see. It's not just a no voice on the end of the phone. They've actually brought back the actress, so... interesting. She's definitely not here to hear happy to hear about Dom being back on the scene, though. She's like, he hasn't changed, he's a wrong un, he's bad news, and he always will be, and if you care about Eliza, you'll keep her away from him, she says. So Stu's in a bit of a quandary at this point. Who should he believe? He phones and finds Eliza in speed dial later, and tells her what her mum said. Eliza clearly not happy about this. My dad's changed, I know it, she says. Goes and storms off to Sam's again. Eliza's doing a lot of storming off this week, isn't she? She doesn't come across to me, or she didn't in the past, being such a petulant teen. Have they changed her personality just to suit the story?
No, I don't think so.
Anything else you want to add there?
No, I don't have anything to say.
Oh yeah, you don't have anything to say about this story. So later on, Yasmin...
You like poking the bear, don't you? You moan at me if I say something, and if I don't say anything,
you just can't get it right.
You have a go at me and say, well, what's your opinion on Eliza's personality? I don't have one.
Yasmin confides in Stu later, and she was rocking that Hermione Granger in the Philosopher's Stone look today, was Eliza? What?
What, the fate that... No.
I'm not talking about sexy Hermione Goblet of Fire.
No, I'm talking about, in the first book, Hermione was like, I hate my hair because it's too curly, I'm going to have to have a magic spell to get rid of it.
No, that happens later on. That happens in the fourth
Exactly,
book.
because she still had the hair in the first book, though, didn't she? You're insulting her hair. You're insulting her hair by saying it's Philosopher's Stone hair.
Saying that she...
It's not. She looked great. I liked her hair. Look, I'm not saying anything else. I give up.
Oh gosh, this storyline is so boring. Yasmin confides in Stu and says, look...
Why are you reading all of this when I literally summed the whole thing up? We might have missed
something. She says, look, Dom's determined to see his daughter. If we stop him, he could start going down the legal route and try and take her off our hands completely. And Stu says, well, I'd fight them all the way to the court if that happened, like. So, Dom comes barging into the house later. He wants to see Eliza, and he doesn't care what convicted murderer Bridget says about him. He's out of prison. He's not in prison. He's a bang-up normal guy. Let me see my daughter, please. Stu's not having any of that. Tries manhandling him out the front door. Right as at the very second Eliza comes in, and Dom's like, I promise I will call you my daughter. We will not be separated by this angry Geordie. Friday, Eliza is still in a mardy moo about the whole thing. Stu's like, sorry, but and she's not happy. She says, I don't count your apologies unless you mean it. Later on, Yasmin's having a chat to Roy about this something or other, probably to do with Lauren or something, when Stu comes in and says, oh, Dom's seeking legal advice. We were right all along. He's going to take us to court, like. And Roy says, look, I think that you just need to have a chat with him. Don't get the authorities involved. It's not worth it. But Stu's like, I don't want to give him a chance. I don't want anything to do with him. Thank you very much. Eliza is ours. Later still, though, he makes a bit of a bad impression on her once more by confiscating her tablet because he finds her talking to her dad on it. She stomps upstairs, and even Yasmin goes upstairs as well, somewhat disappointed in her man. Yeah. What is it about the story that's so boring?
Is it finished?
Yes.
Okay. It's because I don't care. I like Stu and I like Yasmin, but I don't care about this story because I'm not bothered about Eliza, and I was excited when I thought that there was some kind of mystery involving Lucy and Bridget and something coming out about, but like honestly, just let Eliza go with Dom and let's move on. I'm wondering
whether Dom knows something about the true circumstances of that Charlie's death. I'm wondering. That's why he's been brought. There must have been some reason. But at the end of the day, I'm not necessarily expecting him to whisk Eliza away at the end of this. But then if he does, so what, really? I kind of like Eliza. I like them. I like all three of them. I'm not first but it's compared to everything else. This is just not as exciting as everything else. No. Do you think that he is a dodgy guy? Or is he just, a nice bloke who can't control his anger very well, so is coming across as somewhat nefarious? It's interesting to see how prejudiced Stu is against him, considering that he was also banged up and suffered. But he didn't do it, man. I know, but what was Dom banged up for? He wasn't. Dom's not been in prison. Oh, I thought he was. I thought he said something. I thought there was a conversation that happened earlier in the week when Stu was explaining to him on Monday what happened. I wasn't paying attention because I wasn't listening to what you said. Don't worry. Should we move on to the next story? Because everybody just wants us to move on. Yeah. Shona's got a new comrade in barms. Yeah. On Wednesday, Lauren is getting a phone call from her dad, but she's ignoring it, not looking happy. And Max is like, yes, you're doing the right thing. Don't listen to him, he's a racist. He's probably phoning you up to talk to you about migrant boats or something. So Max heads to the cafe later, and he's upset that Lauren is down in the dumps. And Shona says, you know what, she needs a job. In fact, I think I know where she could work. She could be Henry Newton's PA. Yeah, I think she could actually. Max bumps into Gav. Does she know joined up handwriting? Because that's she one step ahead. Gemma already. Yeah, bidding war. Who knows cursive? Literally, since Gemma's been desperate to find other employment, we've had Lauren being taken on there. We've had whoever it was taken on at the corner shop. A bit of an indictment on Gemma's skills and everybody's general knowledge of them. I know. It's like, I'm not going to hire her. So then we get Gav. Hooray! We got Gav and Sabrina back this week. I was thrilled to see Gav again. I think he's wonderful. Bring him back. Let's keep Gavin. Max is Gav's pleased to see him, but he's like, why haven't you spoken to Sabrina recently? And Max says, look, it's a bit awkward
because I got this white supremacist staying with me, and Sabrina's got her nose put out of joint about it. It's getting a bit weird. And Gav's like, interesting. I can see perhaps where Sabrina might be coming from on that particular score. And Max is like, well, if you say so, say hi to Sabrina for me. See you later.
And that was all we got of Gav. I literally, because it's been like a month plus since he's been in it. It felt like as soon as the whole Beck's not is actually Sabrina revealed came out, that Gav was a bit superfluous and he'd went. But I honestly think that there is something about that actor that makes me want to keep hold of him and never let Coronation Street let him leave.
Yeah, Gav for life.
Yeah.
So, Shona says, guess what, Lauren? I've got your trial shift at the cafe. And Lauren says, oh God, I don't know if I can do that. I've never had a job before. Useless. On Friday,
you've got to start somewhere.
She's not got any. She literally does nothing. She's lazy. I think she's lazy. She doesn't go to college and she doesn't have a job, and then she sits around all day complaining. She's lazy. I don't like Lauren at all. She's one of these self-defeating people who's just... And this is the thing that annoys me about it, right? You remember how much Max harped on about, oh, my family's background, oh, such a sad child, all these sad things have happened to me, that's why I became a racist. Lauren actually has all these things. That she's, her dad's in prison, she's hanging around a bunch of blokes all the time who are just being racist arseholes, and she's come out like this. At least she's got an excuse. Max is really positive because he's got a good set of role models in his life. I can see why Lauren is how she is, but it doesn't make me like her anymore.
No, and I like...
She's a sullen...
It sounds a bit weird, but I liked Lauren more when she was a big racist.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that Max and Lauren, back in, when was it? February time, I thought they made a great couple. But now I'm like, no, Max, bin her for Sabrina. She's clearly better.
Lauren's lost purpose in life. She needs, to start religion or something. Don't you think?
Yeah.
She needs something higher to believe in than herself. It's not working out for her at the moment. So she's nervous on Friday about starting at the Roy's, and asks Max to come and see her for some moral support, but he's not very committed.
He says he will, but he's clearly not that into it.
So the first time we see her at her new job, she's just sitting at a table looking on her phone. She's not looking. She's lackadaisical. She doesn't care. She's forgot that she's supposed to be putting orders in. She's giving people tea instead of coffee, although, as you pointed out, there's nothing in the cups anyway, so it can make a difference. Roy's like, right, why don't you
Do you know what this is in this cup? It's nothing.
He ordered nothing, and you gave him nothing.
He ordered a cup of coffee, and you've given him a cup of coffee. We serve empty cups around here, Lauren. Has Shona not told you anything?
The actors will spill it on themselves and burn themselves,
and they'll sue ITV.
Will get sued. We can't trust them with liquids. We've told you this before. Start cleaning tables. So she's cleaning the tables.
Start mopping up all of these spilled empty cups of tea off these tables.
Meanwhile, Julie Golding's in the background. Woo! Smash on the ground. All right, okay, so not going so well, is it? Max sees Sabrina at the bus stop. Hooray, Sabrina's back. And she's like, I want to be mates with you and spend time with you.
I think she wants to be more than mates with him.
And she's like, can I be your player too, baby? And he's like, yes, but we can't play any specific game.
They have to go and play generic racing game back at his house, don't they?
Do you want to play generic racer with me?
Generic racer 6.
So they go back to number 8, and he texts Lauren, but I don't know. She sees them, and she's not happy about this.
Oh, yeah.
So Yasmin comes into the cafe. She's like, Roy, is it my eyes, or is there a racist with a broom outside? And he says, I wanted to give her another chance, but actually she's not very good. And Yasmin says, okay, I understand you're a forgiving guy, but you don't expect me to forgive. I thought this was great because Yasmin's standing her ground.
I'm glad that it got mentioned, and I'm glad it was Yasmin and not Alia.
Oh, God, Alia. Oh, I can never buy.
Is that scene still to come, that joy next week of Alia realising that Lauren's working at the cafe? But also,
honestly, if you're going to hire a racist whose family's involved in firebombing your neighbour, don't have her out front with a broom. True. Stick her in the back and butter in barms or something. Or get her up.
She can't do that. She can't do anything. She's useless.
She's absolute crap. She's like, Roy, you're so kind. So then we get to see Max and Sabrina playing on their generic racing game 6, and they're getting a bit close, and then
getting all like rubbing up next to each other, aren't they? They're getting a bit boisterous on the sofa.
Hey Sabrina, watch this! Pew pew pew, pew pew pew. Well, I don't know why I'm firing lasers in my generic racing game.
Items on.
Sounds cool. So Max says, look, I can't do this, Sabrina. I fancy you too much. We can't be more than just friends, because I'm also friends with a racist, and you're black. And she says, yeah, I get it. This is a very interesting and modern menage a trois here that we're involved in. I'd be so mad at him if I was this woman. If I was Sabrina, I would not entertain Max for 5 seconds. Like, you can be charitable all you want, right? But this specific person, I have a really big problem with, because she's evil. So, also, you're evil too, so I don't know why I'm friends with you.
He's not, he's lovely.
Lauren is a bit gruff to Chesney when he comes in saying, can I have some change, please? She's like, we're not bunk. And then she also, this is when she makes the wrong order. And somehow, even though she's just inept, she gets the job. Which if I was Shona, I'd be having my nose put out of joint, because I'd be like, are we on comparable level here? Just because I've got a brain injury. What is her excuse? I was raised by racists. So Lauren goes home and says, hey, cool, Max, I got the job, but also, how come you were with Sabrina? And he says, I'm not back with her because I don't want to cut you out of my life, Lauren. And he says to her, you're amazing. I'm so proud of you.
What are you doing,
Max? Max is like, hey, I heard you like mixed messages, so here's another one.
Totally. Oh, honestly, it seems like he's absolutely more suited, attracted, everything to Sabrina than Lauren.
Yeah.
And
Lauren's just a sullen...
He's just being kind and helpful to her because she's, the wrong side of the tracks. She's earning her wage now. Give her the old heave-ho.
Yeah.
Go and stick her in a cheaper... Yeah. No, get rid. I don't know whether we're supposed to find Lauren so obnoxious, but the fact that Sabrina immediately came round and charmed the pants off me once again, I'm like...
She's great.
She's so good.
I really did get vibes of, Becky or many other characters, Kylie, from Lauren today, but only in the sense that I can see Coronation Street trying to make this character into those characters. I don't think that's a good idea at all. Like I said, it's happened many times before. Gemma's probably the most recent example. She started out as a drugs mule, like a gangster's mole, and now she's like devoted mother of 5. I don't think it's a good idea to rehabilitate Lauren. I think, but then again, I don't know.
She's useful in that she provides, she's a source of friction in Max's pursuit of his true love, Sabrina.
It also, I think it's a yardstick for showing Max's progression against Lauren. I don't think for 1 minute that Lauren's given up her racist. See,
that's what I'm still wondering as well.
I think she's still a massive racist. I just think she realises she's got to keep her mouth shut because her bread's, she's getting bored and a job.
But equally, she was groomed by...
Nothing about anything that's
winners.
happened to her since the whole thing was busted open makes me think that there was an opportunity for her to overcome what's happened to her. She didn't get punished. She didn't get put in prison. She didn't get caught. She got told she was a victim. Again, that was the mentality that got her into this situation. This idea that these relatively privileged white people, because they are, they're working class, but they will still have more advantages than, say, Gavin and Sabrina do because of the colour of their skin. They're complaining about how hard life is for them. Then, something bad happens to Lauren because of their involvement with, black people or Alia or whatever you want to call it. She's just got more reason now to hate people with a different skin tone to her, and I'm supposed to believe that she's turned a corner and realised nothing. That we've had several scenes, even though I still don't really buy it, of Max sort of realising or saying sorry, and I realise now why it was wrong, and apologising and trying to make it up. We've had none of that from Lauren.
No.
And yeah,
she said that she's seen the error of her ways.
She didn't really say anything. I think she's a secret racist still, and I think it's all going to come out, and then she's going to... I think Max is going to have to defend Sabrina from Lauren.
Yeah.
And then Lauren's going to go off.
Yeah.
And Sabrina's going to go, oh, well, Max, you really aren't racist anymore.
Yeah.
Just what I want in a man.
I mean, Coronation Street are certainly pushing... I can't remember what she's called, the actress who plays Lauren. Kate something or other at the moment. She's appearing on lots of the social media. She's, obviously a beautiful lady. So...
Don't have anything against the actress.
No. And also, she's loving being on Coronation Street. I sent you an article earlier. Did you read that? There's a little clipping of her saying, I always wanted to be in Coronation Street ever since I was little. And also, she said that she has been in as like a background artist in Coronation Street a few times before. Do you remember that there was a story where Kylie was feeding the kids at school, she was like pushing fish and chips through the bars because Brian had imposed a healthy food only.
Right.
Apparently, this actress was one of the kids in Max's class. So I'm going to say that was a young.
Canon.
Yeah, that's canon. That was definitely Lauren there. And also she sat next to Michelle, I think, at some family event. I can't remember. It was a wedding, that's maybe. Funny. Yeah, so she's been on the show a few times, but apparently, ever since she was little, she's like Julie Goulding.
Well, good for her. She's playing this character very well.
She's playing her very well.
Like I said today, I can see her... I can see them taking this character and turning her into a Becky or a Gemma or whatever.
She seems the sort that they would want to do that with. Possibly.
I don't want that to happen to this character because I don't like the idea that we had two white supremacists on the show and somehow they both magically became completely not racist and wonderful people. I don't buy it at all. Yeah. I would find that very difficult to swallow, and I don't know what message it sends. Really, it kind of
all
feels
racists can be rehabilitated.
You know what Yasmin was saying to Roy. I'm not gonna forgive her. You can do whatever you want. I feel this. It feels the same with Sabrina and Max. Like, why does Sabrina have to be the bigger person here and accept Max's back? She deserves a man who has never been raped. Like, it just seems like it just feels like everyone's having to bend over backwards to accommodate these racists because they've changed their minds. Sorry, but I feel like there are plenty of other people who didn't have this problem who we could give a chance to before we...
Can I tell you what the biggest mystery of this story still is, Gemma?
What?
Where's Beck?
Who's Beck?
It's Gav's girlfriend.
Oh yes, where the bloody hell's Beck? Do you think he killed her?
I
told you. I think there was domestic abuse going on there, didn't I say? Here's another thing.
He was harassing her on the phone while he was in prison, and Max thought that Sabrina was Beck, but as soon as it was uncovered that she's not, it's like the actual real Beck puffed out of existence.
Doesn't care about her at all, does he?
No.
I also saw somebody asking this question, very valid question. Are the social services still investigating Gemma for, her dodgy...
What's that got to do with this story?
It's not got anything to do with this storyline. I'm just saying, in general, there's another loose end here with Gemma being investigated. I thought she was going to be fined. When's she going to cough up?
Well, when she gets her first paycheck from the brewery. Don't worry, it's all in hand. Right,
how
smaller
do you
stories.
Know?
I don't know.
Well, don't make out that you do then.
Right, Adam's just grumpy this week. He's grumpy about getting split up from Sarah Louise.
Can I
gruff at work. What?
No, carry on, and I'll say what I mean.
Dee Dee says, "I'm worried about you being a grumpy, angry Scottish guy."
No.
And he's like, "Look, I'm just gonna go off and get boozed up in the night," and he does. Because he gets peed with Daisy testing the microphone, doesn't he? On before the star turn from Glyn Young. So on Wednesday's episode, he comes back to the street looking a bit worse for wear. Daniel sweeps him back off home to sober him up.
He turns up on the street, having been dropped off from a taxi, with his hair wild as anything, still wearing a business suit, really mad, and sort of going to Sarah, yeah, went and shagged who I wanted because I'm single and free now. But he's still mad and trying to take it out on Sarah, and I know exactly why.
Why?
Because he can only find one suit.
He never wears anything other than suits, does he?
He's like, she's hidden all my clothes. I swear there used to be something in our house that I think had all my clothes in it. And she used to do something where my dirty clothes would become clean in this box where everything hangs. And now I just have this suit. And I don't know where all my clothes have gone, but I'm pretty sure I used to have a T-shirt somewhere.
I don't think we've ever seen Adam wearing a T-shirt. Not since he was played by the old
I think when I had a different head, I had a bigger wardrobe. But this Sarah's trying to screw me over.
Anyway, Daniel says, look, don't go off the rails. And that's
don't go shagging about, I did that, and everyone hated my character for like a year.
And things turn out okay because he goes and takes Harry somewhere and he's very civil to Sarah.
To buy a little suit.
I don't know, that's all it was. Nothing really happened with that this week. It was fairly dull.
Bernie.
Yeah.
Monday story. Bernie story.
Monday only. Comedy turn for Todd and Bernie.
Part of what made Mondays good. I enjoyed this one. Bernie's found a massage table in the bin. So she sets it up in Dev's lounge and decides to become a masseuse. And she's going to earn some cash and spend it on LSD, I guess.
No, MND.
Dev's not keen about this. And then Todd turns up because he's her first customer. So she's like, Dev, get out. I've got to work my magic fingers on Todd's poor body.
They did a good job of making the massage table look
skanky
and straight from the dump.
Yeah, Todd's face through the hole, and there's all these stains, there's dodgy stains on the wood. I saw
someone online saying they were expecting like a cockroach to crawl past him at one point, which would have been good.
So he's enjoying this massage actually, and Bernie's exfoliating, he's getting very relaxed, and then she goes off to the kitchen to get something, and the table collapses and breaks his nose kind of. His face just goes straight in the ground, and he's not really happy about this. He's going to be
scarred on his face for life, just like the last time.
Yeah. So he gets cleaned up, but he's not, he's like, I've got a funeral, to do, and I've got a bloody nose and stuff, and I'm not paying you, and that, he wasn't going to pay her anyway.
All this stuff.
In the pub later, Bernie's downhearted, and Todd says, despite everything, you've managed to fix a kink in my back. It's been bothering me for years. And Bernie's like, huzzah, this is great. And Dev says, no, I don't want you to do this in my front room. If only there was somewhere on the street, there used to be a beauty parlour in the back of a business where she could rent the area to work her magic. I can see this being a good... I don't know whether they're going to pivot Bernie to this, because... but I think she would be really good working in Audrey's in the back room doing a crystals and massage.
How many jobs can that woman have though? She already works at the corner shop. She already works at Roy's. Does she still work at the kebab shop? Maybe, I don't know.
She should just stop working at one of them and do that, because that would be quite fun. Although, to be fair, there's not very many opportunities because we haven't seen the inside of a hair salon anywhere near as much as we used to. That used to be one of the main places where everyone would chat. Yeah. So they don't anymore.
No. That was that. And then we got to the Little Big Shot story today. Who's going to be the lead role in the play that they're putting on, and who's going to sing the main song, which was a Lizzo song? I don't know which musical that goes in.
All this week, everyone at the production team at Coro is probably like, how bad is this Lizzo scandal? Do we have to edit this out?
I didn't even know there was a Lizzo scandal going on until you pointed that out to me.
Can we leave the Lizzo reference in? Does she do it or not? How is this going to affect? Can we redo that scene? No? Okay, we'll just keep it in. I hope nobody noticed.
Anyway, Hope's kind of thinks that she's got it in the bag, but then it turns out that when Glenda does her whole tense reveal, it's Ruby.
Ruby's got the lead role.
She's going to sing. Hope's in the backing singer, so she's pretty annoyed about this. But Nina says, don't worry, Hope. Backing singer is a very important job, and I'll do your makeup if you like as well.
I would not want to be Lizzo's backing singer or dancer.
No. Not after what you told me about what the scandal's been happening. First thoughts on you, Ruby?
Oh, very fun and nice.
I think she looks lovely. I think she's
great.
It was time. There isn't enough to go on. She's very bright, bubbly, effervescent so far. Everything that old Ruby wasn't by the end of it. I got I don't know how old she is. But when we saw some publicity photos of her a couple of weeks ago, we thought that she looked a lot taller and bigger than she actually is, didn't we?
No, she's smaller
there
than
was
Hope.
There was a picture that was like
it was the perspective.
From ground view looking up at her, and she looked like this lanky giant, and that might have been a Jack Webster Mark II here. But when they had her stood next to Hope still did tower above her, as she should, as her older sister. But no, I mean, give it a few months and we probably have
forgotten. I don't, forgotten. She sticks out a bit at the moment. It feels a bit obvious that she's different. Looks very different from old Ruby. I don't know whether they're going to try. I don't know what they thought Ruby's personality was in the past 2 years. She used to be a little fun sassy thing when she was very young. But, in recent years she's been given less to do. And now I don't know what she's got. She's just kind of stood around
looking miserable for
I don't know what her personality is. She certainly doesn't come off like she was a few weeks ago now. No. She's a lot brighter and who would have ever thought that she harboured a secret desire to be to be Lizzo.
I don't think there's been anything in the story so far about her having hidden singing talent.
But I do suspect that Hope has murdered the old Ruby, and that's why
I'm waiting
we've got a new Ruby, and who knows whether she's going to murder this one as well.
I'm waiting for Fizz to come back from, where is she? Northampton, and say, have you brought the wrong kid home from summer school again?
I can't believe this.
That's not even Ruby. I don't know.
And also, that's not your Nana. That's Joanna Lumley.
So I guess that whatever else next week's Coronation Street brings, there will be some little big shots filler material. I don't know what is going to be with it, but it will mean more Glenda, which is nice. Right.
Small children singing, love it. Want more of it. Want choirs of children singing all the way through. In fact, if we could get it narrated by a child, that would be fantastic.
No, thank you. So
yes.
I don't know whether I've done the best job at describing what happened in this week's Coronation Street. Tried my hardest.
I think it went all right. I mean, you're forgetting that we did record a section of this and then went back and did it again.
We did. We've got about 10 minutes of material that I really wasn't happy with, and we just deleted it. So
if it's still bad, then what can you do? We've tried twice now.
Yeah. How you scoring it? Is your character of the week?
Oh, that's a good question.
Thanks. Did you can't say you didn't expect it was coming.
I often forget that this is part of the deal of doing this show. Jenny. Character of the week, Jenny. She was fantastic. I thought Monday's episode was just classic Corrie. It felt like a return to form for the show. Wednesday was a bit of a dip. Friday, enjoyed again. It was great fun. Yeah, I'm going to give this week 4 backwards cups of tea.
Oh, 4.
I thought Mondays was one of the best episodes in a long time. And I like... Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be one of the Rovers bar staff or Gemma or Henry for me this week.
Right.
I'm still... we saw a lot of Henry. There's probably, one of his biggest weeks. It was all about, remember Henry, let's shove Henry in as much as we can. But like I said, I'm still slightly warming up to his new persona. It is good that he's saving the Rovers. So, is saving the Rovers from sure and certain demolition enough for it to be him to be judged character of the week?
You know what you're saying about Henry and, he feels different to you, etc., etc. This reminds me of, we get too dramatic and about this kind of stuff and get carried away. It reminds me when, this is so funny in hindsight, when Gareth Pierce took over as Todd, and they had that atrocious intro story that was really bad. And when I was talking
with
about
Mick the gay gangster, yes, I remember it well.
When I was talking about the fact that it finally hit home to me that we're never going to get old Todd back again, and I totally understand why. And I'm not talking about the I'm not. Please don't demonise me for this opinion, because it really is just about the character. I was basically crying in the podcast about the fact that they recast the character. And I was just looking back on it. Gareth Pierce is fantastic. I love Gareth Pierce. I think he's great as Todd.
Yeah.
So for all that you say, you think Henry's different, I think that it's still early days. He's hardly been in it, and I'm hopeful that there's going to be some fun ahead.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm going to give it to Jenny as well this week.
Okay.
Yeah, there really were some fantastic scenes with her, particularly on Monday. We've seen a few more spattered in the last few days as well. And it's I'm still beyond thrilled that we've got a Rovers storyline. So definitely Jenny's my character of the week. I'm not going to rate this week as highly as well. I'm not going to say it's a 4.5 for me. I mean,
I didn't say 4.5.
Sorry, it's not a 4 for me. I didn't think that the Adam stuff was that interesting. Wasn't sold at all. Yeah, on the Eliza story, and even the Lauren stuff, not too interested in. I'm going to give this 3.5 tugs on Henry Newton's balls to make him cry out of 5. So you do it, and that's how you get those tears.